folks, thanks for downloading, subscribing. Welcome to another week of the Live Life Aggressively Show. This is Sincere Hogan. Got Mike Mahler on the line. I'm hyped up, man, because when you sent me the podcast schedule for the rest of this month, and I saw this guy on there, and then I saw who he's associated with. And first of all, I was like, wait a minute, why does that sound familiar? So then I looked it up. I was like, Blasco, really? First of all, Rob Zombie fan right here. In case people didn't know.
Too.
And then when I saw that, I was like, okay, hey, man, I'm hyped up about this show today. So it's going to be a lot of things that we're going to talk about, man. And I just hope that, it doesn't end up being like a 4 or 5 hour show, because now when you're talking about two worlds that I've been involved in, when you're talking about music and you're talking about fitness, and you can bring them both together and see how they're parallel, I could talk about this stuff for days, man.
all we need to do is throw in cigars and coffee, and we'll
I
be
got
here
the
all
coffee
day.
right now. I just don't smoke cigars in my house. But trust me, if I was out on the patio right now, I damn sure would be doing it.
So our guest is a big coffee fan, too, and we'll get to him in a second. Yeah, I'm really psyched up about today's guest as well. I heard of him on Jamie Josta's podcast, which I listen to on the regular. It's a great show. And actually, our good friend John Joseph was on this week's episode, and that was a fantastic episode. So I encourage everyone to check that out. John is always dropping great knowledge, and Jamie's a great interviewer. So anyone who's a big fan of the music industry and you've always wanted to know behind the scenes type stuff, like you love those behind the scenes episodes on VH1, his podcast is like that. It's like you're privy to a really interesting backstage conversation. And that's what I think makes podcasts fascinating. It's funny because we had Charles Poliquin on the podcast, and most people loved the episode, but a few of his sycophants, they were basically saying, oh, when you get a guy like Charles on, just let him talk.
It's called a lecture.
Yeah, it's like, well, look, dipshit, this is a podcast. He's coming on our show for a conversation. He's not coming on to give a lecture. Yeah. And he came on 2 times. He's a fan of the show. He's a fan of us. That's why he comes on the show. He doesn't go on many podcasts. You really think he wants to just come on and talk for an hour while we just say, great, Charles, great? No, he wants to have a conversation. Exactly. He didn't come back for the second time because he didn't enjoy the first time. And he said he'll come back anytime. So guess what? As long as he's happy, we're happy. And if you just want to hear him talk, go to his YouTube channel. So anyway, just had to get that out there. Now, next, let's move on to some of our listeners that are going above and beyond just listening to the episode and sharing it and giving reviews. They're actually buying stuff to support the show. They're using that coupon code LLA to get 10% off the best nutrition supplements money can buy. So just a few names here. We've got Nathaniel Riviera, Mark Linkish, Todd Benbow, Juan Albert, Nick Farina, Kenneth Watson, Jed Santos, Steve Rowlett, Frank Torelli, Lindsay Spittler, and Jeremy O'Brien. They're all using that coupon code LLA to support the show and get 10% off some great products. So it's win-win all around. To support my business, you get 10% off some great products, and you support the show. Keep it free so we don't have underwear commercials and, and pitch a bunch of products we don't use like a lot of shows we listen to.
Yeah, you spend the first 20 minutes of your show pitching, and then it's like, come on, man. You can't just get to the show. So, also, man, I also want to thank all of our listeners that support us on a monthly basis on Patreon. That's patreon.com/LLA podcast. Truly appreciate each and every one of you guys and ladies. And there's a box on there, for your pledge, and it has a 1 in there with that $sign in there. Like, look, folks, we want to push this thing over the edge, man. I'm seeing some people on Patreon, man, and I've checked out some of their shows, and I'm seeing what their fans are paying, and what they're supporting them with, man. And I'm looking at some of this quality. But look, man, those fans don't even hold a light to any of you guys listening out there, man. Let's show them. So go over there, man. Become a monthly supporter of the show. Go with a $5 donation. Go with a $10 donation. Hell, some of our fans have $20 donations on there as well each month. So if you really feel like you're getting quality from the show, you're learning a lot, man, show that by actually becoming a Patreon supporter each and every month. And hey, let's go ahead and let's push this thing over. Like, what was the goal what I say the goal would be this year, man? Let's say we try to get about 100, at least 100 I'm changing it by June. By our anniversary.
Yeah, like 150, I think, is a good number.
Yeah,
given
150.
How we have tens of thousands of listeners.
Yeah.
Come on.
So yeah, that's the goal right there. So by the time we hit our 3-year anniversary, in May, let's go ahead and have 150 at least 150 Patreon subscribers, man, who are supporting the show on a monthly basis. All right, so let's make that happen. So all right, let's get on with this, man, because I'm
yeah.
I've been listening to a few albums, like, since I know this was coming up today. I want to get into the mode here, so I've been listening like to Sinister Urge, man, and Educated Horses and Hellbilly Deluxe, man. Now I've been really listening close and like listening to the bass lines and all them. Like, okay, yeah, there's our guest right there, man. So I'm hyped up. Let's do this.
Well, all the bass lines were machines, so that's not something we'll talk to. Now, our guest today is Rob Blasko Nicholson, and he has a very interesting background. He was a founding member of the crossover band Cryptic Slaughter. I remember listening to them in high school. Fans of DRI remember them quite a bit. He played bass with Rob Zombie solo band, and he was in Danzig, played bass there as well. Yeah. And now he plays bass in Ozzy Osbourne's band. And on top of all of that, he's also a manager of top hard rock band Black Veil Brides.
Nice.
And hey, man, how you doing, Rob? Great to have you on.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me. Certainly appreciate it. It's very cool.
Yeah, and I heard you on Jamie Josta's podcast, episode 137, and it was such a great conversation. I hit you up on Twitter to come on the show, and then to my surprise, you actually know who I am, and you're a fan of my book, so that was really cool. That was a fun day. I was like, oh, this is going to be great.
Yeah, man. I mean, I've connected with you on Twitter a few times. Like when I read the book, I was just like, for me, like I use Twitter in that way of connecting with people that I else, wouldn't have a way to connect with. So, I was like, I blazed through the book, and I was like, oh man, I'm going to hit him up and let him know that I thought it was awesome and stuff. So,
yeah, I appreciate that, man. That's awesome to hear, because I'm a big fan of your work. So it's always cool when my work is being affected out there too, being proliferated. But man, I was laughing listening to that episode you did with Jamie, because you manage the Black Veil Brides, and you said you get a lot of people that are emailing you in bands always say, hey man, it would really help us out if we could open up for them. And you're like, yeah, I'm sure it would help you out. What's it going to do for me? And it reminds me of so many emails that I get too, where, for example, people will email me and say, hey man, I'd love to take you out for a coffee or lunch. Well, hold on one second.
Yeah, you always have these guys reaching out to us, man, and then they're like, hey, look, dude, I got this new DVD, man. It really helped me if you give me a testimonial. Like, I haven't even seen it. So why would I give you a testimonial on something I haven't seen? Like, oh, but man, but I'm a big fan of your work. I've never seen you.
Well, yeah, man. I mean, it's interesting, right? I mean, it's just like, to me, it's like no matter who's listening, I feel like, you're always wanting to connect. You find yourselves, like, even me, right? Like, I don't know where you guys are at, but me, I want to get to another level too, right? Like, right. I'm not, like, I haven't reached the end of the road, right? Like, there's still people that I need to meet. There's still bigger equations that are in my life that I need to get to, right? Yeah. But and as much as it's irritating for someone to hit me up and ask for something just for free or whatever, like, I am, on the flip side, I'm in the position to be able to hit up people as well and ask for favors, but you have to do it in a way to where you have to provide some level of return value, right?
Yeah, some reciprocity. Yeah, man. Otherwise you're nuisance networking. Yeah, nuisance networking is like what I call it. Like, these guys that are contacting you saying it would really help us out, and then we would blow up if we opened up for them. It's like you don't know you would blow up, and then what is it doing for me? It reminds me again of people that are saying, I'll take you out for lunch, I'll take you out to coffee to pick your brain. And it reminds me of an episode of Seinfeld where Kramer's lawyer is helping out Kramer with the case where coffee was spilled all over him, right? He got burned. Yeah. So the coffee company is like, okay, let's offer him free coffee and $50,000. And then they're like, okay, we're going to give you all the free coffee you want. And then Kramer accepts it right away, right? So the lawyer, without hearing the $50,000 they wanted to pay him. So his lawyer is just totally pissed off. He's like, look, man, I don't need free coffee. I can get free coffee. Coffee's not hard to get. That's what I always feel when these people hit me up. I go, look, man, I can get lunch myself. It's not hard to get.
I'm not hungry, man. Sure. That's why. Now what? It's like,
sure.
But it's never, here's what I want to do to help you out. It's okay, here's what you can do to help me out. And when I first got in the business, I used the exact opposite approach. I did a method of contacting people and interviewing them to help them. I go, I'm going to get you in some major exposure. I'll get you in muscle and fitness. I got Clarence Bass on the front cover of Iron Man magazine via an interview. It was never what's in it for me. What's in it for me was obvious, just being able to associate with such people and get in their world in some capacity. But those people wouldn't have given me the time of day if I just said, hey, I'd love to get you on the phone to pick your brain.
Right. Like their time is so invaluable that they're, right. It's that balance, right? I mean, cause it's like, I manage, Zack and Black Label. So that pretty much covers the full demographic there, right? You've got the younger bands that are sort of in the Black Veil community. And then you've got the older bands that are sort of in the Black Label community, and it's just all day long, it's just like, it'd be great to be able to do that. I'm sure it would be great. Like, that'd be fucking awesome for you or whatever. But it's like, I'm not in the, oh my God, I can't wait for some band to hit me up because I have the slot I need to fill business. I mean, it's just like,
it's more powerful if you find them on your own, right?
Exactly.
Like if you go to a show and you're like, man, these guys are killer. Let me hit them up to come open up.
That says a lot right there. It's like, wow, dude, for real, you notice me?
Of course. And like, for instance, like I have a very good, like specific example. So there's this band called The Shrine that's from Venice, California, and they're sort of like the skate rock, band, and they're cool. And I've been a fan of theirs for a while. And then Black Label's going out on tour, and I hit him up and I go, hey man, like I'd love to have you guys come and open for us. So, like it's like I get nothing out of that, other than like I want to put together a cool package because I think that they need to be in front of more people, and I feel like the Black Label people would be the right fan base for them,
Right.
And so yeah, exactly what you're saying. Like they were like, fuck yeah, man, they were super pumped on being able to go out and do that. So it's like, yeah, finding the right things, but just even in the context of the conversation, it's like, man, like humor me, like offer to like wash my car,
exactly,
like come over and like, dude, I'll clean the litter boxes, like, you know what I mean? Like at least come at me with something, like, because I tell people like, hey, look, man, it's like, I get it that you have nothing to offer. I get that's where you're coming from.
Right.
However, it's like if you look in the grand context, what you're looking to here is build a network, right? Yeah. So if you at least come at me and make me laugh, or you come at me with some kind of sense that if it's humor, if it's something to where it's like I can at least then respond, right? Yeah. It's like because like every so often, you'll see the guys on the side of the freeway with the signs, it's like, hey, can you give me some change? But the ones that you give change to are the ones that have like the funny sign or whatever. They're just like, hey,
exactly.
It's just like the one guy with the cardboard sign that just says straight up, I need beer money.
I need beer. I'm not hungry. It's like, dude, I got to respect that. Here's $1.
Right. Totally.
Or the ones that want to clean your windshield or clean your tires. They're like, hey, can you help me out? It's like, okay, I can respect that. You're trying to put in some work.
Yeah, I'll give you $1 not to use that dirty water on my windshield. How about that? But at least I'll give, it's really $1 for actually the effort that you put forth. Like, you know what? Hey, I'll do something for you other than just have my hand out.
Yeah.
I think that's the operative word, efforts. Like successful people innately want to help other people. It's been my experience, but they don't want to help other people that are just old talk and don't back it up. So if you're out there hustling and you're pushing it, you just naturally want to see that person succeed.
Yeah. And looking for a handout. There's nothing more irritating than some dude looking for a handout.
I would have people come to my seminars and they go, man, that was a great course. They go, we should team up and teach a course over here. I go, yeah, I can see why you would want to do that. But it reminds me when I first started teaching kettlebell seminars, my coach who got me into it, Paul Valsatzeline, he offered to come out to my first course and co-instruct with me as a way to get more people in the room. And that was a very generous offer, but I gracefully turned him down because I didn't want a bunch of people showing up just for him. I was like, I'd rather have 3 people show up who are there for me than 20 people who show up who are there for him, and I'm just there.
Yeah. And then you're going to owe that dude a big favor, which who knows what that big favor is going to do, right? It's like, that may not be something you want to get into.
Yeah, that's also a good point. That's also a good point. I'm very focused on being self-reliant too. And part of it is that reason. It's like, I don't want to, not that I don't want to network with people and I don't let people help me out. It's just that if I can do it on my own, I'm not going to just pass the buck.
Yeah.
And like I said, there's something can be said if you're out there hustling, man, doing your thing. Don't worry about, oh, man, I hope so-and-so noticed me. If you're doing your thing, man, you're not going to care if you truly care about that thing. I mean, the same situation happened with Mike and myself. Look, first of all, man, when we first met, I was a customer. Okay, I was signing up for his courses. I'm trying to learn. I wasn't even going and signing up with the intention like, you know what, one of these days I'm going to end up working with that guy. Yeah, he's going to work with me, but let me go ahead and buy in right. And no, it's just like, no, this dude's bringing some great information to the table that I think can really help me out with my business. And as far as me being a coach, going into this world, coming out of the music industry, I resonate with this guy a lot better because I'm like that now, even in the firearms industry. I'm looking at all these people, but there are certain people that I resonate with. So I'm like, okay, he kind of fits my personality. I like his straight up in your face type attitude because that's just the way I am. And I like that. And then there's some people that dance around things. I didn't care about that. So anyway, sign up for his courses, man. And then throughout the years, just like he hits me up out of nowhere. Hey, man, I'm coming to Houston, man. Want to know if you want to do a course together. I totally wasn't expecting that, but I'm not an idiot either. I'm like, fuck yeah, I will. But the thing is, now it didn't just stop right there. It's just, okay, yeah, I've said yes, and I've committed to it. Now in my mind, like, okay, I got to make sure that he doesn't regret fucking asking me, to do this course with him. So I got to I got to come beyond my A game, man. I got to go beyond that. Okay, and I got to make sure that people leave like, that was a damn good course, man. And, the other guy that was with you, man, like, oh, wow, he brought it. That's the way I'm thinking about this, man. So I'm not going to sell myself short. Well, you have some folks where they appreciate you reaching out to them, and they just think like, okay, that's cool. They leave it at that. They're like, okay, he likes me. So, hey, I'm just going to go be subpar now at this point. I'm good with
Well,
that.
some people are just happy to be part of the club, right?
Exactly.
So in other words, they look at success as they're friends with a few people that are
Right.
successful. And even though they're not successful, the fact that they're friends with a few people who are, that's a win for them.
Yeah.
And that's a deadly trap as well, because now you don't feel like you have to do anything.
Well, my thing is, if I'm friends with those people who are successful, then for me to be a true friend, I need to stay on my grind too, because I'm a reflection of those folks. So if I'm really their friend and people are going to see me and like, oh, you're Mike's friend or whatever, I can't be a buster. I can't be a loser out there, man, who sucks at life, because they're like, oh.
You don't want to just be that other guy.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah, you don't.
Who's that? Who is that dude that was with you again? But it seems that what it comes down to, like what you did sincerely, you paid your dues, and what I think you deal with a lot, Blasco, is a lot of bands, just like trainers, they just don't want to pay their dues. They just want to bypass that process.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's probably got to be par for the course in just about anything that
No doubt.
that looks easy, because I feel like it comes from misperception of like your life is in such a way to where you're looking for an escape, and you look at the things around you, and the things that are around you that are potentially inspiring are things that are visible because they're successful. But whenever you're not looking, but what you don't see is the steps that it took to get to that successful point. All you're seeing is the reality of the success. And whenever you're looking at it in such a black and white attitude, maybe the perception is that it looks easy, and it looks easy to get there. Like I remember my mom always saying, like, I can sing as good as Barbra Streisand. Why couldn't I be a successful singer? You know what I mean? And it's just like, but it's no one's fault, like on either end, but it's just the reality that I feel like that when you get to that certain point, it's easy for people to look at it like what you did looks easy. I mean, if you're good at what you do, that you make it look easy, which is partially the problem too, right?
No doubt.
And then the visibility of it is also. I mean, because you look at pop stars and you can just go like, wow, that's it. Like someone else wrote the song, someone else put your makeup on for you, someone else shot the video,
and Pro Tools made them sound good,
right? And software made it put it in key, right? So like, what did you even do? Like, who couldn't do that? You know what I mean? But there certainly is more to it. But their perception of what it is certainly seems like it's pretty easy. Like,
it's like that with acting too, right? You watch a movie, you're like, oh, they're just talking. It's like, I can do that. I could do that coffee shop scene in Heat where Pacino and De Niro are just talking to each other like two regular guys. That's easy, right?
Right.
Then you go try doing a play or something. You realize how crappy you said. You're like, man, I suck. Pros make it look easy no matter what it is, whether it's snowboarding or MMA.
And so does editing.
Right.
So how many times they may have messed that scene up? How do we know? That's the thing about it, because again, you're looking at the finished product. It's funny, just a couple of weeks ago, because by the time we hear this podcast, it already happened. But a couple of weeks ago when we actually talked about the UFC, when we talked about McGregor versus Aldo, so eventually, McGregor knocks Aldo out in 13 seconds. So now everybody's talking about, oh man, that was way too easy. It's just like, oh no, dude, this is like a culmination of things that this guy has put in the time to work on, for years, for at least a decade. Okay.
He worked on that precision, which is why it connected.
Exactly. It was not a 13-second knockout. It was about a 14-year knockout. Okay, that's what people need to think about it, because that's all the work he had to put into that. So of course, everybody's like, oh man, that was way too easy. No, it wasn't. He's bled. He's probably had some things broken. He's been sick, got staph infections, whatever else. That's all the things you don't count. And also, you got to look at what happened with Aldo as well. Well, you know about the bruised ribs and the staph and all this other stuff like that, but he's put in probably about 20 years of work for that 13-second knockout, and he'll come back. But again, everybody can be. The easiest thing to be is an armchair quarterback. That's the only thing that's easy to do. Sit back there and be that guy or that girl who just sits there like, I could do that. Come on, man.
Well, I mean, that's one thing you said, Blasco, and Jamie's podcast is that it's not about the ideas, it's the execution. That's the most important thing, and that's so true. I mean, I know people that got into business when I did back in 2002, and they had a million ideas, and no one knows who these people are because they never execute. Even I don't remember their names because they never executed anything.
Right. I mean, even me, man. Like I can't. I mean, I can speak for myself, and as much as like, man, I got plenty of ideas, but there's only so much time in the day, right?
Exactly.
I got ideas that aren't even music related, and stuff. And I can even go as far as to spend time outlining an execution plan for these things. But, sometimes, man, it comes down to like, you just got to prioritize, what you can really do.
It's so hard to execute an idea too. I don't want to make it sound like it's like, oh, these losers, they can't execute anything. It's easy to come up with ideas and get excited and be in that anticipation stage where like, oh man, I can't wait to do it. And then you start doing it and you're like, oh, this is a lot harder than I thought it would be. Like, I guess I don't want to do it. Like one of my nutrition supplements, my testosterone booster, it took 3 years to get that out there.
Right.
From the idea inception, because I didn't know what I was doing. It was new territory. There were so many roadblocks along the way. I mean, the reality is if I didn't really want to get it out there, I would have given up a long time ago.
Yeah. I mean, in the book, like when I picked up your book, I mean, it's early on in the book and like I'm paraphrasing because I don't have it memorized, but it's something along the lines of like, a secret to success is it really comes down to the basic premise of like, being willing to do what you don't want to do, right? Yeah, and I was like, oh my god, like, dude, mind exploded, right? And I just closed the book and I put it away and I didn't even touch the book for like a week because I had to really process that, And I was like, fuck, man, like that's like seriously, like that's it, because it's like, I mean, I think about like whenever I was in Danzig, dude. Like when I was in Danzig, like I had 2 jobs. Like I worked during the day at a used clothing store, and then I worked at night, like in a bar, like bartending.
Wow.
Whatever. And it isn't like I had crazy expenses, but I just felt like I'm not a loser. Like I don't want to be like other people I know that maybe were in a band, but then like they felt like their reputation was at stake if like they actually had like a day job. You know what I mean? I was just never that guy. And to do those things that you don't want to do, and certainly
did you do that because you needed you weren't getting paid enough, or did you do that more as a security thing? You wanted to have other income sources going on.
Well, I mean, it was just that, you got bills, and I said, like I didn't have bills that were crazy, but like in Danzig, it was like a time period whenever like nothing was really going on, so there was there was just like no dough coming in,
right,
and stuff. So it was just like it's just like like you got bills to pay, and like I just figured like, man, like I gotta make money regardless of how much I try to dumb down my expenses to keep things real.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, man, like you still gotta pay for yourself. I mean, you gotta have like the self-respect to not like mooch off people and live on couches.
No doubt. I think a lot of people will be somewhat surprised when they hear a statement like that, because they just assume when they see a band up on stage, oh, these guys are loaded. They probably drove a Ferrari to the event, and they're going to go home to their luxury house in Hollywood after. They don't realize that for most bands, you're doing what you love, and that's a success, but you're grinding,
man. I mean, I mean, like that is so not true. And in this day and age, obviously we're get something we'll get into, but like, it's more difficult now to make a real sustainable living. And like if there's like a level of consistency that you're fortunate enough to have, that's great, and you can do that. But like even the sustainable like bands, like, and there's a lot of them like in that mid tier that have like a sustainable living, and they can put out a record and they can do it and they can tour, and there's like they can do like 1,000 cap rooms, and they sell like a couple thousand records and they're able to make a living. These people do not live in mansions and have exorbitant expenses. It's like but what they did is they go like, you know what? I know that I could spend all of my money. I know that I could have those things, but the reality is that I want to actually sustain myself. You know, I want to know that I won't have to go looking for a job because I blew all my money. So you have to really look at your expenses and modify them to a way to where you go, this is how I can comfortably live. And this is the kind of car I'm going to drive. And this is the kind of house I'm going to have. And this is the kind of life I'm going to lead. However, I will never have to work at McDonald's.
Yeah, I think the truth comes out whether you actually want to do what you say you want to do, right? So a lot of bands they'll get into it for the wrong reason, or not necessarily the wrong reasons, but maybe they have additional reasons which are not congruent with where they should be. For example, the band Madball, we're friends with Freddie from Madball, and those guys have been crushing it for a long time, and they have a modest, they have a good life. They're not loaded or anything like that, but they don't seem to care about that. Well, maybe some bands will decide that if I can't have the Ferraris and the mansions and the 10 broads and all that stuff, then it's not a success, which means they didn't really want to be successful musicians per se. That wasn't the driving
they wanted to be rich, you know.
Right.
So they were
go be an investment banker.
Yeah, they were aspiring to be on MTV Cribs, but ended up on VH1 behind the music. That was what happened.
Yeah, I mean, like this is something that I tell like musicians kind of getting started off, and I just go, look, man, like you gotta look at a potential career in the music business. You gotta define the success in this way and this way only. If you're going to define your success and how much money you make, then you should get into something else.
Right.
But if you're going to define your success on how much music you make, then you could infinitely be successful, right? Because if the goal is that no matter what, I want to play music, and then your success can be, you know, tenfold or whatever. But if you're only basing your success on money, you're doomed from the beginning.
Yeah, with the same thing with the training business. I remember I had an Oracle executive who wanted to get into the fitness business, and he said that he wanted to make sure that he makes $300,000 a year, which is what he makes as an Oracle executive. And I go, look, man, I was like, I'm not saying you can't make that. It's possible, but it's not going to happen anytime soon. It's not going to happen your first year in the business or your second or your fourth, probably not even your fifth. It's going to take a long time to build your brand and develop that kind of wealth. But the fact that you're even thinking of that as a requirement is a bad sign. You should be getting into fitness because you love training people. You love putting out this kind of information. You don't care about the money per se. You just want to do something you're passionate about.
So that was your nice way of saying don't quit your day job.
But if the passion is there, then the money will follow.
Exactly.
It's a byproduct. It's like, right. Because it's like, look, if you're going into it, like, specifically, because it's like, man, you really got to look at that. It's not like the information isn't there. And it's like anyone that kind of looks at this and just be like, oh man, I'm getting into music to make money. It's like, wow, like what are you looking at that you can even deduce that as a possibility?
I look at most bands. I don't even know how they make money. I mean, I was at the Mushroom Head concert a couple of days ago, and these guys, the room was far from packed. I mean, there was probably 200 people in the room.
These guys, and they've been grinding for a long time. In fact, they were like, when I saw them, the first time I saw Godsmack in Toronto, and this is like 2001, you know, Mushroom Head opened up for them, and I'm like, who are these guys? I mean, I dug them, even though I was kind of thinking like, this kind of reminds me of another group, you know, just the way you guys are presenting yourselves here, you know. Sure. So, you know, but at the same time, I got past that. I got past how they were, you know.
Yeah, they don't sound anything like Slipknot.
No, they do
their
not.
Music is totally different.
I had to get past the look. I was like, okay, they're not Slipknot. But
they don't sound like Hollywood Undead either. Another bad mask.
You know, so I'm looking at the energy of the room at that time, probably about, because they opened up, so probably about 50 people were there at that time. You know, it was a different type of energy. So I was like, okay, these guys, they could be okay. But now here you are, Mike, talking about they were in a room with about 200 people. I'm like,
well, I mean, one problem is this is the second time I live in Las Vegas. This is the second time they were in Vegas this year. They were here in April, and now they're here again in December.
Eight months
so that's
later.
When I was a kid, right? When I was going to concerts in the 90s, I mean, when a band came around, it was a big deal. It's like Metallica's coming. It's like, oh man, we got to go because we're not going to see them again for 2 years.
Yeah,
exactly.
So now in Vegas, now whenever a band comes through Vegas and you can't make it, you just go, I'll catch them the next time around, which will probably be in a few months. You know?
Yeah, here's a clear example that is an email I got yesterday. It's totally different music genre right here. But, okay, here's Adele. And she's selling tickets for her concert in November in Texas. November of 2016. And it's probably going to sell out in 30 seconds. November, she has 2 shows she's scheduled for Dallas, 2 shows in Houston, and 2 shows in Austin. That's 6 dates in a week in Texas, and they're going to sell out. And, and this is from a year from now. How many of these groups out there that think they're going to be rich from being musicians can actually say they can do the same thing, and they can mirror that type of success? Okay.
Yeah. Well, the problem is it's hard to hold someone's attention because I'm a huge music fan. I listen to hours of music every day, right? It's one of my big hobbies. But I mean, I'll have a band that's the flavor of the week where I'm listening to them a lot that week, and then the next week I've moved on to someone else. Totally forgot about the last band, So I think it's so hard for a band, even a band that's making some great music, to just hold someone's attention long enough where they really get into the music and then go buy T-shirts and then make sure they're at the live venue.
Yeah, totally, man. I mean, it's like, the Adele thing is such like, it's just one of the 1 in 10 million where it just had the appeal to everyone. Like when all is said and done, it will be the one record that every household in the world has, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you'll find yourself singing. You don't even have to like the song, but you'll sit there and ride around like, hello, what the fuck? Why am I saying that? Why did I just start singing that damn song? Because you've heard it everywhere, and it has a certain appeal to it, even if it pisses you off because you don't want to be a part of that appeal. It has some type of appeal.
So it's okay, Sincere. You can say you're a fan, man.
Oh, I'm a fan. I have no shame, and I am a fan.
Right.
I like talented curvy women. You should know that by now.
No, she's very talented, man. You can't deny that. She's very talented. But like Blasco was saying, like you just don't know what's gonna pop, right? Like you were saying, you were saying, Blasco, in that Jamie Josta interview where some bands were saying, man, if we could just open up for you guys, we would blow up. And you're like, you don't know that. You don't know anything. You don't know what's gonna blow up. There were so many songs I remember listening to growing up, where when I heard them at the time, I was like, oh, this band's gonna be huge. And then they never got any traction.
Exactly.
I mean, look, I mean, it's like, it's so laughable, right? Because it's like, look, if anyone had a crystal ball, 'cause that's what you're telling me. You're telling me that if you open for my band, it's like no one has a fucking crystal ball, right? Because if anybody did, we wouldn't even be here right now. All of us that had the understandable of the crystal ball, and we knew what to predict, whether it was in fitness or music or whatever, we would be in fucking some tropical destination somewhere, with our fucking toes in the sand, having someone else like do all the heavy lifting for us. So like we wouldn't even be podcasting. Like
it's so true. You could just put your whole life savings on the McGregor Aldo bet and not break a sweat. You're like, I know exactly what's gonna happen. Bam, there it is.
Right. It's just like, come on, man. Like, and like the interesting thing about the Adele thing, to go back to that for a sec, is like, 'cause I feel like it potentially resonates in what you guys do too, is like anyone will tell you that you cannot like build a business around the hope of appealing to everyone. Like you need to like niche the fuck down and into something to where you're having an appeal. And she's just, like I said, she's just that 1 in 10 million that appeals to everyone. And that goes against all rules.
But what's crazy
it probably wasn't even her intent.
Well, I was about to say, what's crazy is that's not what she started with. She's like, she was actually going for it. She's trying to dial down a niche. Like, look, I'm fucking sad. My life sucks right now. And I want, but there's so many people who live in sad lives out there. They resonated with it. So it became pop. It became popular because being sad and having, just feeling like the world's crashing down on you and you need to come back some way, somehow, but you don't know how or whatever, is now popular culture. So it was accidental, if anything. Hell, she'll even tell you that. She says it all the time. It's like she had no idea it would happen like this. And it takes a minute for you to even grasp that when that's not your intention, when it starts to happen like that, it never gets comfortable to you. She was even saying that. That's why she had to take time away. She's like, look, I need to go be with my family for a while. Okay, enough. I'm not sad anymore. Actually now I'm happy. So now she had to go reassess, like, okay, what do I do for the next album? Because now everybody expects me to be depressed for the rest of my life. Like Alanis Morissette.
It's good that she's not, though, because nobody wants to listen to that every record.
Every song. It's like, you're not fucking happy yet? Well, damn. And you're still breathing? That's
it's like, this music's making my life depressing. I got to stop listening to this. No, but like you said, Blasko, you have to have a very particular niche. When I first got into business, I decided that I only wanted to work with a particular kind of mindset, someone who is willing to do the hard work, is not going to whine and complain, wants to take charge of their life. And that's the whole live life aggressively motto. So I presented my business in a way which is going to be off-putting to a lot of people, but those are people I don't want. So that's a positive. And then it's going to attract the people that are a right fit for me. So those are the people I enjoy working with. So it's win-win all around. It's like, why would I want to work with someone who I don't like and enjoy working with? I'm not going to be able to sustain a career doing that.
No, you'll hate yourself every day.
Exactly.
You know? And but yeah, I mean, but it's like, man, everything is an accident. I mean, granted.
I'm pretty sure all three of us, our existence was an accident. Like, oops, somebody did it.
Right.
Yeah, like,
I mean, but it can be an educated accident. Like you can go, like you went into the kettlebell thing, or you go into these things with like, at least you go like, well, at least if it doesn't work out, like, but like I'm going into it as like an educated accident. I know what I need to do. I don't know if it's going to be successful. It's like whenever I started getting into business, like, dude, I just wanted to play bass. Like I didn't know that I was going to, segue into what I got into. Right. Like, right. I mean, that was like the first decision that I made when I got into Ozzy's band. Like when I reached the height of what you would think that someone would just go, fuck yeah, here I am.
Right.
I'm, like I'm tagging out. Like I fucking planted the flag in the top of the mountain. Like that's whenever I got nervous. That's whenever I was like, fuck, man, like now what? Like that, like the goal of getting there and just the drive, like the thing that keeps you up, that wakes you up early, and just the drive to get you there to cross that finish line. And then when I got there, I was like, oh fuck, like I didn't, as a 16-year-old kid that was putting out a Cryptic Slaughter record, to even think that I was going to be on stage with fucking Ozzy Osbourne, like, it's not even a real thought. You know what I mean? Like you can't.
Do you have moments where you're up on stage, you're like, man, I can't believe I'm up here with Ozzy? Like, you're looking over to the right, you see Ozzy, you're looking at this huge audience.
Every single time, man. Like every single gig, it was like, for instance, like the Sunday. Zach and I, we did this thing for Lemmy's 70th birthday party.
Oh, cool.
Right?
Wow.
And so Matt Sorum from Guns N' Roses and the Cult calls us up. Hey man, we're doing this Lemmy's thing. Do you want to be a part of it? We got like Slash and Duff and Jonesy and like all the, and like all involved. Like, and we're like, yeah, fuck yeah, dude. Why not? And then but even that, like, that's not even Ozzy, but I go like, I'm in the same room with Guns dudes, with fucking Sex Pistols, with Billy Idol. Like what? Like how the fuck am I even in this conversation? And so like, man, I'm super appreciative, and like every day I'm just like, why am I here? But it's like, you put into it like an educated accident. It's just like, man, I feel like that's where I am now, to where I can kind of visualize things, and anything I do is more calculated than before. I'm just like, well, fuck it, man. Like, I'm just going to play music in the garage with my buds and like whatever, like now I definitely don't have that mindset.
I get the impression you're following your passion wherever it goes in the industry. So you started off as a bassist, and then you got more into the business side of things, managing bands. How did that whole transition happen? Was that fairly organic, or was it something where you just saw an opportunity and took it?
Well, I mean, it was, so to continue what I was saying is like, I got in Ozzy Osbourne band. I get there and I'm just like, holy fuck, man. Like there's nowhere left to go. Like I'm looking around, and like, and all, like, only thing above me is like AC/DC and Metallica. Right. And then I'm like, but those gigs are like spoken for like ever, probably.
Right.
And I'm like, well, fuck, man, I guess you better figure out something to do. Otherwise, you're going to be some 50-year-old dude sleeping on people's couches like Ozzy retires, and you're like, sorry, bro. And like, now what? And like, and it was like this, I had to do like a real self-analysis, right? And I had to really look at it and go like, do I want to be that guy? Like, do I love playing music so much that when Ozzy retires, am I the dude that's willing to go form a band with my bros and go start back off like at the Whiskey and Shit? Fuck no, I'm not that guy. Like, and that doesn't mean that I don't love playing music. I do love playing music. However, I am now have paid the dues and graduated to the point to where I don't love playing music that much. You know what I mean? Like I love playing music. I love playing War Pigs and Crazy Train in front of 50,000 people. But but you know what I mean? But like at 50 years old, come on, man. Like,
you don't want to be at a club also with 50 people in a new band. But what you were saying makes me laugh so much because I look at how hard I worked to do kettlebell workshops early in my career. You know, now I'm more of a nutrition supplement company, but for 10 years I pushed those workshops hard. And for the first couple of years, it was 20 kettlebells in the backseat of my Honda Civic driving from LA to Arizona to make $300. You know, it was like those kind of weekends every weekend. And I wouldn't if I had to do that all over again. I don't think I would do it. You know, so that's why I'm laughing at you. So if someone's like, "Hey, man, are you willing to go do that again?" Fuck no, I'm not willing to do that again. Been there, done it, man.
No way. It was like it's funny. So Zach and I have a little side project thing, and it's called Zack Sabbath, and it's me and Zach. And Joey C plays drums, and Joey C was in Queens of the Stone Age for a long time, right? Mm-hmm. And so we have this little like power trio, and we do all Black Sabbath songs, hence why it's called Zack Sabbath. But like he's like the singer guitar player guy, and it's this power trio, and we do all Black Sabbath songs. And it's a fun thing that we do like on the side, right? Whenever the opportunity arises. And we recently did a couple of gigs like at the Viper Room, and we put them on sale, and they sold out in an hour, and it was badass, right? I mean, fucking, it was these hot, sweaty clubs, and we fucking sold them out, and it was just fun, and it was fucking rad. So and the booking agent was like, so like, you know, did you like that? Like, did you like playing like the clubs like that? And I go, yeah, fuck yeah, man, like it's super awesome. Because our careers is playing fucking arenas.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's not like we're fucking pushing 50 years old and to play the Viper Room is badass. It's like that, you know, that wouldn't be the case, but in context, it's awesome. So anyway, I climbed to the top of fucking Hired Gun Bass Player Mountain, right? I get there and I look around and I go, fuck, dude, it's fucking breezy at the top, you know? And I gotta plan for the future. You know, I gotta make a real educated guess of what's next, because this is the end of the road here, right? And like I said too, I had to do the self-analysis, and I go, you know what? My bass playing career ends when Ozzy's career ends. And like when he retires, like I want to retire too. You know, like I want to go down in the Wikipedia. I want mine to end where Ozzy ends as far as me playing bass, you know? And so I go, okay, but what do I want to do? What do I love doing? I still love music. I had to, you know, I still love music, and I knew that I had to be in the music business, because assumably there would be people that maybe don't want to, you know, they're like, I'm just over music entirely. Like, you know, like you were saying, like, you're like, I was in the music business for years, but like I got out of it, and now I'm into doing something else that I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
So I had to be realistic and go, okay, well, what do I want to do? And I had a couple of missteps, like, you know, like I was like, maybe I'll be a producer, maybe I'll be like an A&R guy or whatever, you know, but regardless of any of those, at least I knew that I wanted to be in the music business, and I was looking around in there for what I felt was like my good fit. And I go, so fuck, man, like what is it that I have? Like, well, fortunately I've been in the business since like 1986, right? Like I was lucky. I was like a 15-year-old dude with a band of 15-year-old dudes that got a record deal at 15 years old and started putting out records whenever we were 16 years old. Like by the time I graduated high school, with me and my buds, like we had put out fucking 3 records and gone on tour. Like who does that?
Yeah, that's crazy.
So I was very fortunate in that. And I look at it and I go, okay, well, you know, what's the real like premise of what a manager needs? And he's like, he needs a network, right? Because it's like, if what a manager does is provide opportunities to his client, there has to be a network there, right? Like if I pick up a client, in my mind, I have to go, what's the first phone call that I'm making? Like who's the first dude that I'm calling asking for that favor that I know that I'm going to have to repay, right? So because I've been in the business for so long, I had built up a network. So I logically kind of looked at it and I go, well, I feel like management could be a good fit because I have a network of people and I've been in the business for a while. So I also, in terms of potential client, like I feel like I've got a sense of credibility, right? In that, like, yeah, that's fucking cool that I'm in Ozzy's band, but I have a long stretching career, and there is a sense of credibility that I was in, you know, a hipster fucking Cryptic Slaughter band, you know, and whatever, and stuff. So there's kind of a logical formulation of how I felt like I could fit into the management role. So that's what I started doing. And that's the beauty of the music business, right? Like, you don't need a fucking degree or anything to do anything. Like, it's just like, it's just like, not like being a doctor, or a lawyer or something where you gotta like actually be educated. Like, you're just like, just me playing bass. Like, I want to be a bass player. Cool. What does that take? Oh, you need a bass and an amp. If you want to play loud. And that was it. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's all I needed was a bass and an amp and a cord to connect the two. And I got in a room with some dudes, and then here we go. Right. Yeah. So much like that management thing was kind of similar. It's like, okay, like, I have a phone and I have a laptop. Now what do I need? Well, I need a client, and the only thing differentiating me from being a manager and not being a manager was having someone to manage, Right. And so I went and I scoured the internet and found some bands to manage, and there we have it. And then it just started going. And then you go, okay, dude, well, now you got to kind of put up or shut up, because now you've got some bands to manage, but now you got to make this a career. Now, now you got to really do this for fucking real. And,
what are you doing as a manager with these bands? Are you helping them get record deals, helping them get gigs, helping them with building their brand, all of the above?
All of the above. And obviously, but you got to figure, right? Because I mean, relatably, here I am. I'm starting off at ground zero. So it's not like I could pick up a client that was established.
Right.
Because exactly. I'm no one. I have no track record. I mean, yeah, maybe cool. Maybe you think I'm a cool dude, but but then all that means is we're going to get beers or something. That doesn't mean I'm going to manage your career.
That's what I tell trainers too. I go, network with people that are coming up like you. Go teach a workshop with one of your peers that's also hungry like you coming up, rather than someone who's well established who gets people pitching him for that kind of stuff all the time.
Right.
Yeah. So I just had to scour the internet and find some bands that would just fall for my bullshit and just go along for the ride, because they really had no option.
Right.
Like, well, they learned the industry early, right there. Falling for the bullshit, and the promises. And luckily you came through with them.
Right, like it's you or no one. So then it's a matter of a case by case basis. What does this band need to make a career? Is it a record deal? Is it a booking agent? Like what? Because sometimes there's components that people have, right? Like, I mean, early on in the bands that I picked up, they had nothing. So that was easy. So you just go out, not easy, but I mean, easy in terms of building an action plan. It's pretty easy because you need everything that you don't have, and you don't have anything. So that's, so that's easy,
So like anything is a step in the right direction.
Exactly. Anything's better than what you have now, which is not a damn thing.
Totally. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. Like everything's a win, but then like say for instance, like years later, I pick up Zack. Like Zack's already established, right? So that's a completely different plan of action. Whereas I go, I gotta reinvent this dude's brand. Like that's a much larger task. Getting a band a record deal. Fuck, dude, no problem. Like, you know what I mean? Like I could do that in my sleep. But reinventing some established dude's brand, that's a whole different ball of wax. So it's a matter of just it's a case by case basis of what someone needs, and you go in there. But like I said, the real basic premise of what a manager does is he provides his clients opportunities, and that's what it comes down. That's the broad stroke, and then obviously it details further from there. But that's the real big broad stroke of what I do.
Yeah, sometimes it could be expanding merchandise, getting commercial deals. So it's just anything to push the band forward.
And glorified babysitting, cleaning up the bullshit they leaving behind, and so they don't get arrested or whatever else. It's like you're a fixer, big time for a lot of stuff, man. You're like, people have no idea. Like that 15% that managers get paid, like sometimes they deserve a lot more depending on who the artist is. Like, dude, that dude, you need to up his pay, man, because he's cleaning up a lot of mess. Constantly. I realize they're working for, record labels, and when these artists go on tour and have to go out and do promos with them and meet and greets and all that, and just the way these artists would act. Because some artists are just, well, most artists are big ass babies, you know, and they get, the reason why I said it, because the label, if they're, you know, if the label cares about them at that time, they do so much for them that the artist doesn't have to do anything but just show up, and usually it's not on time. They show up and perform, and then everything else is taken care of. I mean, they even give them per diem and all this, like, okay, this is the amount of money they go on the road, and, you know, this is for cover their expenses, blah, 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 blah. Even though it's not really, you know, the money coming from the label, it's being taken out of the artist's pay, but the artists, you know, especially a lot of young artists have no idea, like that per diem, you know that's coming out of your tour here, right? You know they're not just giving you some money. But basically what they're doing, they're giving them an allowance like children. You know, and it's usually spent on crap. As soon as they get in town, hey, Sincere, we want to go to the strip club. Dude, it is 2:30 in the afternoon. I don't care. I want to go to the strip club. Where's the weed man at? I'm like,
they have a good buffet there.
Yeah. I mean, you know, when you watch those behind the musics, you know, the most tragic era was the fucking like 80s hair metal era. Those poor bastards thought it was just gonna keep on coming.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And
I remember when it crashed, man. It crashed hard.
Hard, dude. Like it never even happened. Brutal. Like, because you know I live in LA and you know we you know you drive down the strip on a Friday or Saturday night whenever it was like, you know, the heyday of fucking hair metal, and it was like between the Whiskey and Gazzari's, which is, you know, which became the Key Club, which is now some other like dance club or whatever. But like, you know, that little zone of the strip, it was insanity, packed with people, just craziness, right? And when Smells Like Teen Spirit hit, you could drive down the strip and it was immediately a fucking ghost town.
Yeah, it was amazing when that happened. That whole Seattle scene, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, and Nirvana, it was amazing when that happened.
Yeah, that was one of the things I want to talk about, man. Just like, you know, the artists that you've been associated with and worked with between Ozzy, you know, and Rob Zombie and all these guys, Danzig and all these guys, they've had such longevity. And then there's that period, that era, right after when, you know, when they were like really at the heyday of their, you know, coming at the end of the 80s. When you go into the 90s, you got all these, like you said, the grunge bands. So you have people like Kurt Cobain, gone. Shannon Hoon, gone. And now, just a few weeks ago, Scott Weiland, you know, gone. Yeah. All these guys, man, just gone, dead. And then, you know, you have these guys who have some longevity. Like, say what you want about Ozzy. Ozzy's still here, man. You know, it's just like, I mean, beating a lot of odds along the way. You know, so, you know, I know you've seen a lot of stuff, man. What do you think is like the key to these guys having such longevity after all these decades? I mean, Ozzy, what are we talking about 4 or 5 decades now that he's been in this industry? And, you know, Danzig, and we talking about Rob Zombie, you know, especially with Rob, you know, reinventing himself so many times over, man. But like, what have you seen that helped these guys have longevity through all this and not get caught up in all that madness and still, you know, they're still here with us?
Like inherently, I feel like these particular individuals are, you know, smarter than the average rockers, for starters, you know. And I also feel too, collectively, what they have in common is that they are the singers, and so maybe, you know, analytically there's something there. I haven't really thought about it, but I feel like also too that you know that they've also surrounded themselves with smarter people.
Right. There you go.
People that can kind of help get them out of problems, or that can direct them in a certain way to where they're not, you know, getting themselves in trouble, or when they do get themselves in trouble, they can direct them to get themselves out of trouble. And it's just the directive of guiding them to making the right decisions, whether, you know, it's like career decisions of like, when should I put out a record? What kind of record should I put out? You know, when should I tour? What kind of room should I play? I gotta ride the wave, you know, or do I stay my course or whatever, and stuff. So I believe that a lot of it has to, you know, be attributed to just these guys have surrounded themselves with people that have given them good advice, plus their own intuitiveness of what the right thing to do is with their career.
Right. And, you know, you're talking about riding the wave, man. And another thing we kind of hinted on earlier when I was talking about, I was listening to, like, you know, Sinister Urge and all that, and going back, and we were talking about just the proliferation of technology, you know, especially like it's odd how out of all the great music that Rob did with White Zombie, it took like Hillbilly, you know, before he even got noticed. You know, and this was a little bit more where he kind of stepped up and started the introduction of Pro Tools started to take over. You know, and now all of a sudden it's like now people are paying attention. And, you know, people are now saying like, oh wow, this is probably, I think it probably sold better than any of his previous White Zombie albums, all of them actually combined. So how is it, especially for a guy like yourself who's a bassist, how has technology affected you as far as, just as far as you having the longevity and still going out there, someone who is actually talented enough to actually play an instrument compared to all these bedroom musicians who like, I have Pro Tools. I got the latest software just because I see it a lot with DJs, man. Not everybody's a freaking DJ now. I'm seeing freaking musicians now call themselves DJs because they have a software program. And I just kind of, I want to take a turntable and just bust them across the head when I see that kind of stuff. I'm like, dude, you're putting two songs together. I can do that with an iPod. Okay. And still, you can't call yourself a DJ, man. There's an art to that. So, how does that affect you, man, as far as technology and now all these bedroom musicians now because they have the software to do so?
I mean, it's kind of twofold, right? I mean, on one hand, it levels the playing field a lot. Now, keep in mind that whenever I was coming up in the mid '80s, like it was 12-inch vinyl, like there was or cassettes, you know what I mean? Like
and 7 inches, 45.
Yeah, 7 inches. Yeah, but I mean, for Cryptic Slaughter to make a record, right? We had to make a demo tape. We had to send the demo tape to a record label. The record label had to give us a record contract. We then had to go into a studio with like 2-inch tape and make a record. And then that was pressed on vinyl. And then that was, distributed to the record stores. It was quite a process. I mean, to be totally fair. I mean, and to where what that did is, I'm not saying that because you were able to put a record out that you were a good band. But what I'm saying is that there was a weeding out process. Right. If for whatever reason that a lot of stuff never made it up to me even being in the public ears or eyes, just because it's like they were never able to get a deal or they were never in the right place at the right time or whatever it was. But for better or for worse, probably for better, it was a weeding out process. Now, the three of us could start a band as soon as this podcast gets over, and we could have shit on iTunes in 24 hours.
Right, exactly.
So then it really comes down to a matter of, the marketing side of it and how you build it up, right? Yeah. So it's kind of twofold. In the one hand, there's no longer the weeding out process, and there's this level playing field. But then again, it's kind of cool to where if you're anybody, you can kind of put your shit where U2 shit is. I mean, I think that in some respect, that's kind of cool because then it really comes down to the matter of effort that you're willing to put into, getting it into the hands of fans. Yeah.
But, which goes back to that weeding out process again. It's a difference. Now the weeding out process has changed its look as well.
Right.
Because now go ahead.
The real negative I feel of it all is that now here we are in 2016 and what we have is the playlist generation. And what you're going to see within the next 4 years up until 2020 is the further extinction of albums and more as we go into the playlist generation. And you just see there's just so much noise. Like there's just so much content and so much noise. It's like, you know what I mean? Like what bands do you listen to? How do you find new bands? What podcasts do you listen to? What blogs do you read? In the digital age, it's like, man, there's not enough time in the day to know everything that you need to know. Like it's just impossible. So I feel like with the advent of technology, sort of I guess, not to sound like the old guy that, oh man, I wish it was like back in the old days, but it's just the reality of the situation that like, there's just so much content that if you want anyone to give a shit about what you're doing, you have to work that much harder. Also, you have to think that much more ahead, and you have to niche down even further and really concentrate on a specific demographic of people that really need what it is that you're selling or trying to sell or share or whatever that is. It doesn't even matter if it's music, if it's a book or if it's a course or if it's a podcast or an ebook or whatever. It's like, think about how hard it is to get into the hands of those people. Granted, they're a little bit easier to find, because they're on social media and you can use a hashtag to find certain people or whatever. But like, man, it's going to be a lot tougher for bands and for entrepreneurs to break through.
Yeah, and I think also you need to go with in mind that what it is that you're going to niche down to, but also not have all your eggs in one basket. With all this noise going on, you got to like put yourself amongst various mediums of noise, not just like, okay, I'm going to put this music out here. Like, okay, why not go ahead and think about creating a podcast to further support your marketing efforts, for your project? Why not go out there and, I don't know, get a blog out there as well, and then get a YouTube channel, use those various mediums for the right thing and be focused when you have those things.
You actually have to give a fuck about those things.
And that's the most important thing.
Because a lot of, like what Ryan Holiday said, he's like, oh, everyone's doing a podcast now. Like, okay, maybe I should do a podcast. Well, I mean, if your attitude is, oh, maybe I should do a podcast, then don't do a fucking podcast because you have no passion whatsoever going into it. Same thing with the blog. Like I always say, look, I wrote 100 articles in the first year when I was in the business. So now the only reason I did that is because I had a lot to say. So other people that heard that message and said, wow, writing a ton of articles, content, I can get my business out there, massive action. Nobody did it. Not one fucking person who heard me say that ever did that in my entire career. They'll write one article and they won't write another one for a year. They'll write 2, 3. No one even wrote 10. A YouTube channel, if you're going to start a YouTube channel, you can't just put up one clip and then you never do it again.
Oh, yeah.
It's got to be like every week at least, once a week. You're
consistency, man, because people are going to expect to see you. It's just the same thing about a podcast. Don't put one out, do four episodes, and then you haven't put an episode out since 2012.
Right. My thing is, a lot of our peers do that. They started a show because everyone's doing podcasts. Like, oh, Joe Rogan's successful with the podcast. I'm going to put a show out there. And then they do 1 or 2 episodes and they have 50 listeners and they get discouraged and they realize, okay, this is not for me. Hey, it's like, yeah.
Here's my
it takes
thing.
time.
If you got 50 listeners, you focus on those 50 listeners and you give them the best content possible.
Yeah,
just like when I was teaching courses. When I was teaching courses, if I had 5 people there or 2 people there, I gave them my all. Those 2 people probably felt like, well, damn. Just imagine if there was like 100 people in this room. Well, where they weren't. You 2 were here, but guess what? They're going to go back and say, hey, that dude, man, hey, he put his all into it. You got to check out his course. Next thing you know, there's 10, there's 20, there's 30. Oh, and then finally there's that 100 people right there. And then it kind of becomes a bit of a headache. It's just like, damn, I like the better ones, just 2 of y'all. And you see a lot of that with musicians where they were playing at these stadiums, but these dudes love when they go to these little small venues and do these intimate performances because that's where they started. It's kind of like going back home for them.
Like what Blasco said, though, is only as long as you don't have to do that.
Exactly.
If you're doing that because you have to do it, like you see some of these bands from the 80s that are trying to make a resurgence, and they were playing stadiums when I was a kid, and now they can't even fill out vinyl at the Hard Rock, which is only a couple hundred capacity. And you're like, man, this is kind of depressing. Yeah, most of their fans, and they're playing songs from back then, too. And all the people in the audience are 55.
I was going to say, most of your fans are dead now, and they've overdosed or they've died from diabetes or all kinds of other stuff because they didn't take care of their health. It's kind of like, yeah, you need to think about a new audience now, man.
No, but like what Blasco said on Jamie's podcast, like with the new band, is like no one is looking for a more average version of something that already exists. Right. And that's a good way. That's a good way for trainers to think too. Yeah. It's like, what the fuck are you bringing to the table that we should give a fuck about?
Right.
So a lot of trainers are just a derivative of someone they learned from. It's like, well, I'm just going to go to that person. Why do I need to go to you?
Exactly. It's like, it's probably one of the worst things ever is like, oh man, this dude sounds like so and so. Oh man, he's teaching like so and so. That's the curse. That's a curse right there, man. Especially when they consistently say that.
When someone compares you to someone else automatically, that's a real bad sign.
Or to compare you consistently. Now, like a couple times, like, okay, he kind of reminds me of someone. That's usually what we do, even with musicians when they first come out. This artist kind of reminds me of blah 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 blah. 4 albums later, you should not still sound like freaking Adele. Okay, I shouldn't be thinking about Adele when I hear you 5 albums later. Like, why are you still here? We already had her. Why do we need you? What are you bringing to the table?
No, it's like also what you said, Blasco. What are you bringing that's new, different, or fresh? And what a lot of people don't realize is that you may be able to take something from an industry that is similar to yours, but not too close, and bring that in, and it's fresh to your audience because they've never heard about it before.
Right.
Like when I got into hormone optimization, nobody in the fitness business was talking about it. Nobody was. And I went to all these medical conferences and all these naturopaths and people like that are near the planetary system of our world, but not completely in it. And I picked up all this information and I was like, man, people in my industry would love this stuff. This is so beneficial to getting stronger and improving physique composition, feeling better, et cetera. So I started talking about it, and then I was able to bring something fresh as a result of that. It wasn't new information. It wasn't stuff that I conceptualized myself and came up with, but I took it and I put my own touch on it so that people in my industry would understand it. So I think the key is this, is that you're gonna bring something new and fresh if you're really excited about what you're doing, because you're gonna put your own touch on it. You're gonna be constantly resourcing things.
So what he's saying is
the people that are the people that are derivative are people that are just looking for a quick buck. They're like, well, I'm just gonna be a Charles Poliquin clone, and then if I make 15% of what he makes, I'll be happy with it. Or I'm going to be a Pavel Satsaline clone, or I'm going to be a Sincere clone. They're just looking to be a derivative of someone who's already out there.
Right.
But that's not exciting, and you're not going to sustain any career with that. You're just going to be someone no one remembers or cares about.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it was like I used this example the other day. I go, hey man, they just remade Point Break. Right?
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, come on, man.
Fucking Point Break, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like we bypassed Jaws and just
that's next. I'm sure.
No, please don't say that, because now someone's like, oh, hey, we should redo Jaws.
Well, now they're gonna remake Ishtar next. That's just around the corner.
Yeah. Blazing Saddles.
Howard the Duck is coming back anytime now.
Oh God.
Yeah, but it's just like, I feel like that's like, that's like kind of across the board. It's just like, man, we're fucking running out of ideas,
exactly.
dude. Whenever you're fucking remaking Point Break. Now, look, I dug that movie. I thought
I love the original, man. Yeah.
But like in a cult campy.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like it's a classic movie like this, a masterpiece of like Untouchables or something along those lines.
Right. But think about it, right? I mean, like, if that's where Hollywood is at, like Hollywood, like fucking, like they have access to every writer, every studio, like it's like whatever it is, whatever the price tag is, they can afford it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And what they can deliver is a remake of Point Break, because what Hollywood is saying is we're out of ideas. And
they're out of risks is what their real problem is that they rather take a brand that already exists and then just do some play on that than conceptualize something from the start. Like, I remember when I went to see movies when I was a kid, it was all new brands, right? Like RoboCop was a fresh movie. It wasn't a remake of something else. Untouchables wasn't a remake of something else. Predator wasn't a remake of something else. These were all fresh ideas. And now we live in the age of, we don't want to take any risks, because it's a bunch of guys in suits and ties in a boardroom in Hollywood
who grew up on those movies we were talking about. Why don't we remake this? Because I loved that movie as a kid. Dude, you were a kid 30 years ago, 40 years ago. Please.
Let's get Ronda Rousey to play fucking Patrick Swayze.
Oh, come on, man. And Roadhouse.
They're making a remake of Roadhouse with Ronda Rousey.
Disrespectful.
But they're just making a remake of anything they can think of. Like any movie that was hot back then, or not even hot back then, or a cult movie like Point Break. Yeah. That's the bottom of the barrel that Hollywood has gotten to.
Just hold your breath, man. The Breakfast Club is coming out. Breakfast Club 2016.
Yeah, exactly. What's interesting, though, is that TV is better than ever right now. It's really fresh. Exactly. Shows like Homeland and The Affair, and there's so many good shows. You don't have time to watch any of these things.
Well, look what's happening. All those top-name actors who can't find a good movie, a good script in a movie, like, I'd rather go do TV than remake or rehash this crap. I'd rather do this, because now these studios, hell, even Netflix, which is raising the bar on all of them, and Amazon Prime. It's just like they're really raising the bar on a lot of these other movie studios and all these other distribution channels now. These folks are like, I'd rather go do that now, because, wow, this is a great freaking script. And compared to Hollywood and everyone else, they're just like, hey, let's just remake this. Okay. Yeah, so they're like, this is not even worth. They rather. This is when when like an actor's really an artist, man. When he's truly into the craft, where he's like, look, I'd rather take a great script over just another big check to be in a big ass movie that's gonna flop. Just because it's going to have all these big names, but had no substance and no one showed up to it. Now, his career pretty much is almost toast, because he's like, oh, man, yeah, you were great back in the day. But
if you're smart, you do both, right? Like, you don't have to pick one or the other like that. Like the guy who plays Captain America, that's where he makes his bread and butter. But then he'll do a movie like Snowpiercer, where he probably got paid.
Well, that's a different story, because Captain America is it's a big movie on, it's not a rehash of something really. And that thing is, it's a great franchise.
They're not great movies though, right? Like the Avengers and stuff like that. That's not where he as an actor is probably getting excited. He as an actor is probably not going, man, this script is so incredible. He's making a lot of money there. Yeah. But Snowpiercer, that's a fucking movie. That's a real movie. It's never going to be popular like Captain America, because people are dumb as fuck and they can't understand an intense movie like that with a compelling storyline. But he as an actor gets to go into different realms and work on his craft doing these independent movies. And Chris Evans is his name. I've noticed he's done a lot of independent movies while he's doing these big blockbuster movies as well.
Yeah, it's kind of like Idris Elba. You know, people think like, okay, he was in Thor, he's done these other movies and all
Right,
that stuff.
right,
But
right.
you know, I saw like No Country for Beasts or something like that on Netflix, which was kind of like in the realm of Snowpiercer. You know, a Beast with No Country. Like, damn, when I finished watching that movie, I felt like I felt after Snowpiercer, like, fuck my life, man. But he put in such a great job that, you know, he got a Golden Globe nomination. But there are going to be people at the Golden Globes this year that not even going to know what the hell that movie is. They're like, wait a minute, I know aren't they arguing about him being the next James Bond? But like, no, you need to see him being this African warlord. Okay, and that's where he shines. But they'll remember him for like, you know, Mandela, which was a great performance as well, because it had more money to market that. And the timing was great because the movie came out a month after Mandela died, you know, but they'll probably never know about this other movie on Netflix that Netflix financed or whatever. But hey, he does.
Well, and a lot of people are looking to escape lives that they're not very happy with, right?
Yeah.
So they want to go watch the Avengers and Captain America. Those are fun. They're not bad movies. They're fun movies.
And
though,
everybody
right?
wants to be a superhero, you know, like they
right.
dreamed of doing
That's
that.
a nice little escape. You go in some other universe and all that. Now, a movie like Snowpiercer, man, I mean, that's going to make you feel even worse about your life because it's so depressing.
You start questioning some of the things you're doing with your life, like how you contributing to some of the storyline. It's like, well, damn, this is not too far away, maybe. So, man, what am I doing to change things? They're like, I don't want to think about that.
No, but I'm wondering, like, in the context of music, Blasco, do you know any examples of people, let's say, that are in bands where they're making a good amount of money, not necessarily playing music that they're super passionate about, but it pays the bills, and then maybe they have some side project which is more in line with what they really want to do?
Well, it's like,
well, I mean,
Zack Sabbath.
I feel like you're going to see, out of necessity, you're going to see more of that because, because, you know, in the entrepreneurial world, which is, if you're a rocker, I mean, you're an entrepreneur, whether you like it or not, right? But like in the entrepreneurial world, I mean, we're seeing just the basic necessity of reality is that all these dudes have multiple streams. You know what I mean? Like they have a podcast and and their podcast has advertising on it. And they're getting, and that's one stream of income. But then they're putting out a book, and that's another stream of income. And then, you know, maybe who knows what else they're doing?
Merchandising, T-shirts. I know his bands now have 10 different T-shirt designs and booty shorts, like jackets and hoodies, like this big merchandise booth.
And like they're doing like public speaking, or you know, they're doing conventions or whatever. So it's like in the entrepreneurial world, it's like multiple streams of income is the norm. Yeah. And so I feel like you're going to see more and more of that with artists. You know, not everyone is going to be the Adele success to where she can like put out a record and do one tour and just like chill for 5 years. Like, you know what I mean? Like people don't have the luxury that she does by being a humongous artist. And I feel like, you know, consistently you're going to see more of a pattern of guys that are dipping into multiple streams, and whether it's a signature like instruments or you know, speaking engagements and you know, obviously you're putting out records, but then there's the merchandising but then it's putting out books and like, you know, like Corey from Slipknot.
Yeah, I was about to bring him up, Corey Stone Sour.
He's probably a dude that could afford to make a record and chill for 5 years, but he's got two bands and he does solo stuff. And he puts out books and he does speaking tours and like, you know what I mean? Like he's a good example of a, you know, relatively big star that is example of multiple streams of income guy.
Jared, you know, underground guy like John Joseph, he's got his books he's got a really big book deal he just signed, and he did well with releasing books on his own. And then he tours with the Cro-Mags. Now he's recording a record in his own band. So that's another example of a guy who's got a really good hustle.
And Josta too. I mean, that's how.
No doubt.
That's how we connected. And
absolutely.
And we would have never connected if Josta was just a dude that put out Hatebreed records. You know.
Exactly.
Right.
And it's like he's got Hatebreed, and then he has Kingdom of Sorrow, and then he has Josta, and then he has a podcast, and then he was the dude that was on Headbangers Ball.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's got his own brand of merchandising.
No, he's very sharp.
Yeah.
He started from such humble beginnings like every hardcore band does, and his ascension has been pretty powerful.
Yeah, for sure. And that's a good example. You know, you're going to see more Jamies, you're going to see more I always said someone like Doyle, right, who's got, the first thing you notice about Doyle is like, wow, this guy's jacked.
He's a fucking big, strong dude. And he could easily write a book about his training and fitness regimen, and it would fucking sell. And a lot of people who are never going to work out, who are fans of him, would buy it just because they're curious, you know. Yeah. And then they'd be like, okay, that's a lot of hard work. I'm not going to do that. But at least now I know what he does. Right. I always said that, like, if someone like Doyle had a nutrition supplement line, he could make it work. I'm not saying it would be like super easy, like he just comes out with it and it sells, but it could work. It could work really well, and that could probably make him more money than anything else he does. You know, if it's positioned right and marketed right and executed right. And then, sure. So I think that's just a random idea I'm throwing out there, is that just in line with what you're saying, is that you're going to have to be creative and think of these different opportunities that bands in the 80s like Great White, you know, didn't have to think about. They just came out with a record and they're touring in stadiums, you know. Yeah.
Right. And then now they're all, like I said, and now all those dudes are all bumming because they were like, they thought it was never going to end. And then one day, the Seattle rug gets fucking pulled from underneath them, and now they're on their ass, and they're just like, oh fuck, and now what? You know
what's interesting about that whole Seattle scene, though, is it didn't seem to last that long, right? Like it obliterated the glam metal scene.
I think it died when Kurt Cobain died.
Yeah, it's like Pearl Jam kind of fizzled out. It's like the Alice in Chains are still going pretty strong, and Chris Cornell with Soundgarden. Chris Cornell kind of just ascended that whole world.
He kept reinventing himself, though.
Exactly.
It's just like he kind of like didn't get caught up in it. Where Alice in Chains is like, you replace a few members here and there for their longevity. But I think Chris is probably the one guy that really came unscathed from that era. And Eddie Vedder, same thing with them as well, Pearl Jam as well. They're still doing their thing, and they're those guys that can take time off, come back.
They're still doing their thing, but no one wants to hear their new music.
Well,
that's the thing. Like Alice in Chains, nobody's going to that concert to hear music off their new record. They want to hear
no one does. Everybody's kind of like, they want to hear all the old stuff. It's kind of like when Prince was trying to like protest for a while, like he didn't want to do any old music, and like, no, dude, only way we're gonna come hear you now, it has to be old. We don't want to hear any of that new stuff. So like you got to dig.
I mean, if Black Sabbath only played music off the latest record, people would have a riot, in the stadium, man. They want to hear War Pigs and stuff like that.
For sure. I mean, it's
do
like
a show without doing Iron Man. Just try it. Just try it one time. Just watch what happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, look, man, if you're lucky enough, right? I mean, because if you got to figure the amount of musicians in the world, and then you compare that to the amount of dudes that actually can pull it together to be in a band with like 3 or 4 other guys, and then if you can even fucking pull that together to where you can write a song that anyone even gives a shit about, right? That it is in my opinion, it is your responsibility to make sure that you cater to those fans, and you have to get. It's like I did an interview with Lemmy for Bass Player Magazine, and I was like, oh man, like, you got to be like over playing Ace of Spades by now. Like it's like you like whenever you play Ace of Spades, you're clocking in and clocking out, right? and he goes, fuck that. He goes, absolutely not. Like he's like, that's the song, the reason why I can do what I do. And by no, he's like, I don't take that shit for granted. And like, I mean, the fact that there's still people around that give a fuck about that song, he's like, I'm so appreciative that the people are still showing up and they want to hear that song. There's no way it's ever coming out of the set, and there's no way that I'm ever not going to be, 100%.
That's kind of his gateway song, right? Like every band has a gateway song. Yes, like Hatebreed came out with I Will Be Heard, and that's what made them pop. All of a sudden it's like, okay, now I want to hear the rest of what they have. But it took that song to be the entrance, and Motorhead with Ace of Spades. So many bands have that gateway song that gets you to. You may have even known who they were before that, but it just didn't hit for some reason. Exactly. Then you heard that song, and then you're like, oh, all that other stuff sounds pretty good too.
It's like, So they're pretty much at the show waiting for that song. I was looking, we went to see Lenny Kravitz a few months ago. It's like you see people kind of like, okay, are you gonna go my way? Are you gonna go my way? They were waiting for that. They didn't feel like they could go home until they heard that song, and a true artist knows that. He knows it's like, look, this is the song that really made me. Yeah, I put out an album before that. Nobody gave a shit about it. That was a hippie album. Actually, 2 albums before that. But once he came out with that, it's just like, okay, who's this guy? Like, this guy's been here for a minute. Oh, really? Then after that, big fan base. Been growing ever since then. But you can't not do that song, dude. People will probably they will try to kill him. Okay? If you didn't do that, man. So, but trust me, 30, 40 years from now, I can guarantee you this. I doubt if anybody, when Justin Bieber's doing his Vegas tour, 30, 40 years from now, I don't think anybody's going to give a shit if he does Baby, Baby, whatever the fuck that song was that guy blew him up. I don't think anybody's going to be screaming like, do Baby, whatever, do that. I doubt that seriously. That's the problem with a lot of these manufactured artists that are coming out now.
Well, the problem with the glam metal scene, like one of the things that I feel like one of the reasons that caused it to crash and burn the way it did wasn't just the Seattle scene, in my opinion. It was the fact that they turned on their fans too, meaning that they didn't stay true to their hardcore fans. They started chasing the charts. They started chasing a wider audience, and they just said, "Fuck you, niche audience. Thanks for getting us. Thanks for getting us to this phase. Now it's time. Yeah, now it's time for us to get all the teenage girls and all the people that we didn't care about when we first started to listen to the music." And then so they lost their hardcore following, and when the Seattle wave came in, they lost whatever their fly-by-night moment was on the charts, and then the whole thing crumbled. I think the bands that stayed loyal to their hardcore following, they were able to weather many storms, and they're still around now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's too, man. It was just the time, man. People were just like, fuck, man, like one more band with like those fruity outfits and the hairspray
and headbands and lipstick and eyeliner.
Yeah, like I mean, it's just like, like sometimes like, you just need to get knocked in the face with something that's completely opposite. And that's like in business too, you know what I mean? Like if you think about like when Red Bull, like Red Bull came out and it was like it was a small can. Or it was like,
let me tell you, I worked for them when they first started, and they promised us like, you know what? And people always say like, well, Monster's out, and they have like 16-ounce cans. Why don't you guys do that? Well, 8.3 ounces is all you need with Red Bull, blah 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 blah. And they always told us in every meeting, we'll never change. We'll always have this 8.3 ounce can, and we'll never get bigger, and we'll never have any flavors other than what we have right here. Well, shit. Fast forward 10 years from now, from that time when I worked for them in the very beginning when they were a grassroots company over here. Now they've got all these different flavors. They got these big, giant, ghetto-sized cans. I'm like, how much freaking sugar and caffeine do these people need, man? I mean, come on. And what happened to your core values? Like, we'll never change. Like, never say never. Don't ever say that. Because when the money starts flowing in and the customers start demanding it, 9 times out of 10, especially when you're a corporation, and you have shareholders, they're going to look at you like, I don't care what your values were in the very beginning. This is what the customers want, and this is what we need to do. You can ask Whole Foods how they, they had these core values in the very beginning, but now, come on, man. It's like, how healthy is Whole Foods? You ever just walked around that place? To the point where you got overweight people eating Whole Foods pizzas. That's where they go.
It's like any grocery store, though. You stay in the periphery. That's where the healthy food is. Everything in the middle, not so much. That's processed food, like any grocery store is.
But hey, I'm eating a pizza at Whole Foods. It has to be healthy, right? It's a Whole Foods pizza.
But I mean, if people are so dumb to think that anything at Whole Foods is healthy, then they deserve to be fat and unhealthy. I'm so tired of people that don't want to take responsibility for stuff. It's like, well, Whole Foods is misleading me. It's like, they're not misleading anybody, man. You can look at the fucking label on the back of the box. Anything you buy, there's a label on it.
Hey, man, the Whole Foods police did not show up at your house and say, hey, go to our store now and buy our stuff. Tell me, that's misleading you right there. Like,
but people have this victim mentality that somehow it's society's fault for all the ills. It's like, you're a fat fuck because you ate unhealthy food and you did it for a long time. Yeah. You could have read any book on nutrition and it would have worked. Any book. And you just follow that. It would have been better than what you did. And everything you bought had a label on the back of it. You know exactly what's in it. You know how much sugar it has. You know how much sodium it has. You know what all the processed crap is. So we kind of have this learned helplessness.
We have there's no excuse when all this information is out there now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So trust me, put it like this: if you stub your freaking toe and it's throbbing, you'll go to Google how to make my toe stop throbbing when I hit the toe on the corner of the freaking of the coffee table. So
if someone's going to tell me that their big problem is they go to Whole Foods and they're buying too much food. It's like, okay, well, let's go to Rwanda and tell people there about that problem.
That was a Western problem.
Let's go tell people who haven't eaten for a week about your problem of eating too much.
I got to stop shopping at Whole Check. I'm like, I see my Whole Check there. I'm like, that sounds like a choice. Okay, so I don't want to hear about your choice.
Again, it's only expensive if you're buying all the crap in the middle. If you're buying fruits and vegetables and things like that, you're not going to have a $300 bill.
Yeah,
it's all that processed crap in the middle.
And on the flip side of that, even getting back to what we're talking about now, even the music industry, trust me, there are a lot of people like, man, there are really no good bands out there anymore. Like, are you actually?
There's more good music than ever.
Trust me, are you looking for good bands? Are you even? I'm like, dude, I'm constantly discovering new groups. I'm like, damn, man, and I want to share it because I'm like, damn, some more people need to hear about this guy or hear this girl or hear this group, But most time, what happens is people hear like, oh, I don't want them to go mainstream, so I don't want to let anybody know about them. I mean, that sucks. You're not helping them by doing it. Well, if they become too popular, they start making sucky music. Like, well, there's that crystal ball again that we were talking about. Like, how do you know that, man? Come on.
Yeah.
I remember I knew a guy who grabbed, there was a stack of flyers for a Chrome X concert at Tower Records, and he went there and grabbed the whole thing. I'm like, what are you doing? You're going to distribute those? He's like, no, I just don't want people to know about it because, I don't want it to be too crowded at the gig. I was like, oh, that's great, man.
Great.
This will be their last show. Thanks a lot. No, that's so true. But I think with just going back a little bit, an example of a band who went in the opposite direction of a lot of other bands during that whole glam metal scene. Although the glam metal scene just kept on coming out with more ballads and acoustic numbers because they're trying to cater to broads. While Skid Row, their second album was hard as fuck. It was way harder than their first records. They decided we're going to go in the opposite direction. I mean, it was bordering on Pantera level heavy metal, especially some of the first two songs on that record. So they decided to go in the opposite direction. And I think the mistake a lot of people make, not just in the music industry, but let's say in the fitness industry, is it's very monkey see, monkey do, whatever the herd's doing. It's like, oh, kettlebells are hot now? Let me jump in. It's too late. You needed to jump in before everyone realized they were hot. When I jumped in, it was me and 4 people in a park. Now when something becomes so ubiquitous, it's not really an opportunity anymore.
Well, the flip side in the music industry, though, the problem is, unlike the kettlebell industry, again, that's a choice that you pretty much make. There's no one dictating that you have to start making kettlebell DVDs right now. There's no corporate company that you signed with that says you have to do it, because now you have, with the music industry, these guys, they come in, the A&R may see them perform live, and they're like, oh, this is a really good band. Hey, I can get you guys a deal. I like what you guys are doing. Then they give them the promise, like, yeah, you're going to keep doing what you're doing. Then they get in, and the label's like, hey, you know what? The industry's kind of going in this direction. Maybe you guys need to do this type of record. And now these, there so many are still having that old way of thinking that I have to stay with this record label and do what they say. I can't do this on my own. Which kind of goes back to what we were talking about with the fitness industry, that people feel like they can't do stuff on their own. They have to kind of go with the herd. But they feel like these artists feel like, okay, I got to do what the label says because, hey, man, otherwise I won't be successful. Well, you're not successful now, because obviously they're telling you what to do. If you were successful, you can tell them, go fuck yourself. I'm talking about my fans like this. They're the ones that are showing up, and it's working. Okay, I don't give a damn how many millions of albums that Taylor Swift is making. I'm not about to do some poppy crap like that. So that's what.
That's what Blasco. That's what you said, Blasco, and Jamie's podcast is like the more value you bring, the more leverage you have.
Exactly.
The better the opportunities, the better the negotiating.
Right. And that should really be just a rule of thumb in life, man. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, it seems obvious, but now, now with the state of the business, it's like, man, whatever you do, it's like, if it's not of value to anyone, then you need to work until it is. Right. Like you were saying, it's like, the people that are looking for that shortcut. And you probably see that. I mean, God, in fitness, you must fucking really see that, like the shortcut people, like, oh, well, I mean, fucking how hard could it be? Right. I want to look like that guy. And I'm sure it's not that hard, whereas I want to be a rock star. I'm sure it's not that hard. Like you guys are holding this key, to unlock that someone just thinks that you have, right? Like me, I have this key to success, right? Hey man, I'm really hoping that you'll get me to the next level, whether it's in music or fitness or whatever. And it's just like, well, a lot of that's kind of on you, bro.
Now, one of my favorite movies is this independent movie called Diamond Man. And this guy's a diamond salesman going from town to town, and he's training this young guy because they want to push him out of the company, the main actor, because he's getting too old for the job, in their opinion. So anyway, the younger guy's like, yeah, man, I'm going to go around with you and visit all the customers because they're going to give me your customers. They're like, no, they can't give me your customers, just like you can't give me your girlfriends. These are people I developed real relationship with. They buy this stuff because they like me. So they're not going to I can't just hand them to you and it's going to be the same thing.
Yeah.
But a lot of people think that. A lot of people think that you can just hand them success. Like, right. Well, if I just go assist Mike at his workshops, all of his people are going to want to come see me. No, it doesn't work that way.
Right.
You have to build your own brand. Like, you have to have your own compelling reason why they want to come see you. You can't just be a carbon copy of me or a guy who's a friend of mine or someone who knows me.
Right. Wait. Are you saying that if I buy the neoprene thing that wraps around That's not going to give me 6-pack abs.
Well, I always tell people, I go, look, man, it's going to take 3 to 5 years to reach this goal you have. And that's always like really discouraging to someone. I go, what the fuck is 3 years, man? 3 years is nothing.
Oh, no, man, I don't have that kind of time.
What if I told someone 3 to 5 years to build a really successful business that is going to pay you dividends for the rest of your life? But it's going to be a fucking hard 3 to 5 years. Don't get me wrong. It's not going to be 3 to 5 years of you putting in a part-time effort, kicking back on the weekends. No, we're talking like 7 days a week you're working for this first couple of years. And then, for year 4, you get to take a few days off. But this is stuff you actually want to do. That shouldn't be discouraging to you if this is actually something you want to do.
Right. Yes, exactly. I mean, you got to, it's like, it's like I think you're saying something about it in the book, where it's just like, man, like you gotta invest. Like it's like if you've got an addictive personality and you don't want to eat junk food anymore, then put that addictive personality into like being more into fitness or whatever.
Right.
It's like you know what I mean? Like transfer the appetite for the fucking shit into something better, but like the appetite's still there, but just mentally move it over into something else that's going to be more beneficial.
It could be helping kids and animals. Yeah. It could be doing nonprofit work. I mean, there's so many. Addictive personality is not a bad thing. You just have to shift it into the right domain. Right,
like, dude, like I get it, dude. A fucking a Taco Bell fucking burrito supreme tastes good, dude. I get it. I know it does. But like, is it the right decision for me to do? No.
Well, what's interesting is if you eat clean long enough and then you decide, fuck it, I'm going to go have a Cinnabon, you're going to feel like shit within
and you start questioning yourself. You're like,
yeah.
How did I used to eat like 6 of these damn things in one sitting? Like,
and not feel bad. You know what's scary is when someone eats that stuff and they feel okay. Like, oh, okay, I'm okay. I can go function with my day. I eat something like that, I'll be in a coma for the rest of the day. Like these big Red Bull drinks you were talking about.
Man.
It's like, what's crazy is when someone drinks an entire can of that and doesn't feel a thing.
Then I need another one. I mean, we see it all the time.
I won't be able to sleep for a week if I have one.
And they're like, hey man, can I get 4 of those? I'm like, oh, for what? For the rest of the week? Like, no, I need that to get through the rest of the day. I was like, no, you don't need Red Bull, dude. You need a nap. Okay.
And like those big monster cans.
The monster,
like,
yeah, man.
Like it says like, you're not supposed to have more than 3 of these in a day. 3? Who's getting through one?
like a week's worth of sugar and a month's worth of caffeine in it.
Hey,
no, but going back to the hard work, I remember Arnold Schwarzenegger in an interview said that when he was training for the Olympias, he wasn't like a lot of his peers who were like, oh, God, I got to do another one of these workouts. He said every rep he loved doing, every hard rep of the squat he couldn't wait to do because it was getting him closer to the goal he had in mind. I was like, that's the fucking winning attitude right there. They're not to the point where it's like, I'm just going to suck it up and do this workout. No. You should wake up like it's Christmas. Like you can't wait to get into the gym and do that workout. That's when you have a winning mindset.
Well, there's the thing. He had a goal in mind, though. He had a goal in mind. That makes it a lot more enjoyable. When you're just winging it and just doing it just for the sake of doing it, it's going to suck.
Yeah. Well, you're not going to be doing it for very long either, man, because when you don't have a clear goal in mind and a timeline on when you want to achieve it, it's easy to be like, fuck it, I'm going to skip today's workout. It's like, I don't need to write an article today. Who cares?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, I know you guys totally resonate with this, but it's like, look, man, it just comes down to the effort, right? And like one of the actual aspects of success is effort, right? And you got to put in the effort, but like, the effort, to me, anyway, whenever I say effort, the effort isn't benching 300 pounds. That's not like, the effort of like, oh, I'm struggling to fucking get, like, that's not, the effort is actually getting in your fucking car and going to the gym or,
absolutely.
Or going to the garage or fucking, that's the mental real effort of actually just like doing it. And I think of it too, like maybe it does come down to like a planning / goals, kind of like what you were saying. Cause I know for me recently, like I was reading something that's, because I always like obsess about these like, habits of successful people. Right. Yeah. And I was obsessed about it because I feel like because a lot of times, like, if there's no real education without application. And the cool things about, like, habits of successful people is those are easily applicable, right? I mean, 'cause it's not like they're not doing something that a normal person can't do, right? I mean, they're just human beings, and it breaks it down into real simple tasks that you can do. And so recently I was reading one, and it says like, you cannot start your day off by opening your laptop and just grinding. Like you cannot do that. And I go, what do you mean you can't do that? That's what I do every day. Why can't I do that or whatever? And it's like, but it goes into that, like all successful people, they plan out tomorrow at the end of today. Right. And then when I started doing that, holy fuck, dude, my life changed. Like whenever I started to plan, like I literally, like I went analog, dude. I fucking because I would do everything like on my planner and like in my calendar and stuff. And I went full analog, and I went to Target and bought like a huge notebook and
legal pad and pencil, baby,
and a 12 pack of ballpoint pens. And I went straight analog, and I started crafting out my days. 5:45, wake up, 6 o'clock, feed the cats, fucking like down to the whole thing. But more importantly, at this time of the day, I'm focusing on emails, and that's all I'm doing. On this time of the day, I'm focusing on project management, which means that I'm not dealing with emails as they come in. I literally shut my email off, and I spend 2 hours a day focusing on future projects and breaking down the action plans of that. And then after that, then I dig into like the emails that I've been sitting on for a while, like my flagged emails and stuff. But whenever I started to plan out, and I even put in workout, right? Because I wasn't working out because I was like, oh fuck, I just I want to, but I just don't have the time to do it. I know it's important, but I can't factor it into my day. But whenever I started to plan today, whenever I started to do that, I go at 4 o'clock, I'm working out, right? And then, but I gotta ease into it. So I found this thing, which you guys probably know more about than I do, but I found the 7-minute workout, and that's been a huge game changer for me, because I was like, because a lot of times it's like the effort of like, oh, well, what am I going to do? And I really don't like lifting weights, because like I'm like a smaller frame guy. When I lift weights, I get wider and I look like an idiot, and stuff. So you know what I mean? So to me, it's more cardio. And I know my favorite cardio is going to like boxing classes or whatever. Not where I'm sparring, but I feel like if I'm going to burn 1,000 calories, I am going to torture myself if I have to bring my iPad and watch it on a treadmill or whatever. And for me to get to burning 1,000 calories on that, fucking no way is that happening. But if I take a class to where I'm getting pushed, because I realize like I'm never going to push myself as hard as someone else is going to push me. Or whenever you're in a classroom of people, and not only are you taking direction and instruction, but you're competing with everyone else around you, and you're looking at, and you're going, oh, dude, that girl is hitting the bag harder than I am. I have a personal problem with that, and so I'm gonna push myself harder to want to do that, and then before you know it, you're like, holy fuck, that was an easy 1,000 calories I just whipped off, and so, but my point is by scheduling my day, I was able to put in the things that were important to me, and I realized how much more I got done, rather than just cracking open the laptop and just digging into emails, and then that totally devouring my day. Yeah, I'm not. And what's interesting about it is I'm getting the same amount of work done, right? Like I'm still. It's not like I'm leaving anything behind. It's not like I'm like, oh well, fuck this guy, I'm just not going to answer his emails anymore. Like I'm getting more done by scheduling how I'm getting things done, and then like I said, like I was able to kind of ease into like I'm just going to keep it real. And I'm gonna do the 7-minute workout, and then whenever I feel good, I'm gonna do it twice, or I'm gonna do it 3 times, and then I'm gonna put on the fucking kicks, and I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna run around the neighborhood, and I'm gonna run up dirt mulholland because it's out my back door or whatever, and I'm just gonna keep it real, because you know what, that works. That currently right now that works for me, but I feel like no matter what, even if it's 20 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever, it's better than nothing. And if that's the effort that I can apply to my day, then I don't need to be on a regiment, dude. I don't need to have a back and buys day. I'm not that. I don't need that in my life. You know what I mean? Like I can get by on some real,
that all makes sense. Sometimes also it's a lot of times working out for someone is daunting, because they'll look at it as I need to work out for an hour. where if you just have a backup program, which is maybe a 15-minute workout, what you'll find often is you're ready to do more at the end of that 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But psychologically, it was easier to digest going into it, saying, okay, I'm just going to do 15 minutes.
Yep.
And then maybe that's all you're going to do that day. And that's, like you said, that's better than nothing. Most of the time, someone's going to say, okay, I've got more in the tank.
Yeah. And that's been the beauty. I mean, going back to technology, for me, in terms of fitness, that's been the beauty for me. Like, dude, running with zombies or whatever that running app is, how fucking genius is that? That's so awesome. You know, but having that coach in your earbuds, you know, of like whatever trainer it is or whatever app, like if it's like a push-up app or, you know, like the 100 push-up app or whatever it is. I mean, there's a bunch of them, but having that dude in your earbud, if you cannot get to the gym or you cannot afford to hire a trainer,
right.
You know what I mean? Dumping $4.99 into a fitness app that you know, coaches you through, you know, like things that you can do at home or whatever. You know, dude, I know two guys that have totally transformed their life from like one of those like DVD home training courses or whatever, and like fucking ripped, you know. But it comes down to, like I said, it comes down to the effort of what works best for you, to where you know that you can do that and you can commit to it. You know, like I bet you run into a lot of people that it's just the commitment that is the scary part, where it's just like, man, like ease into it, you know, like don't freak out. Like
that's right. Even when nutrition is the same thing, you just ease into it. You may start off with everything is the same except you add a green drink first thing in the morning, and then you add a salad before your lunch, right? That might be the two things you do for a month, and then from there you gradually start shifting into other realms. A lot of times people feel like they have to overhaul whatever they're doing and replace it with something else, and sometimes that's useful depending on the situation someone's in, but often it's better to keep things the same and then just add stuff, and then you'll automatically start detracting things that you want out over time. It just depends on the personality. Like my personality, I obliterate shit and fucking call in an airstrike. You know, that's just my personality, right? Like I don't do this gradual stuff. Like, I'm just going to gradually phase this in or out.
Weaning off or whatever.
That's me though. And so I'm not saying that's right or wrong and like everyone should be the same way. I understand a lot of other people, it's going to be very daunting. And if you tell them to obliterate what they're doing, they're not going to do it. Are they going to get really depressed about it? They're going to be like, man, this sucks. You know? Because there's a lot of comfort with what they were doing, their previous routine, whether it was healthy or not.
Yeah, absolutely. So, fuck yeah, man. You know, it's the effort. You just got to I mean, I suppose if anything, it's a matter of wanting to do the right thing for yourself, you know?
Well, that's what it really comes down to, right? Whether you want to do it or not. And then the truth always comes out. Like Matt Brown, UFC fighter, has been on the show a few times. He says over time, the truth will come out. So if someone says, I want to lose 30 pounds, and then 3 years later they haven't, well, guess what? They didn't want to do it. You know? They would have done it by then, you know. 3 years is a good amount of time. You could have just lost 10 a year.
10 a year.
1 pound a month for 3 years, you would have had it. But you didn't do it because you didn't want to, you know. And then sometimes you have to accept those realities.
That's the thing. It's just like children, like babies. Like when a baby wants something, you can't tell it no. It's going to try to find a way to make it happen. So sometimes people need to stop whining like children and start acting like children. Because if you really want that, nothing should stop you. Nothing. If it's that important to you.
I think it just comes down to accepting realities, though. Like right now, we're on the precipice of New Year's resolution time, and we all know what that means. Every gym in the country is going to be busy for 3 days, you know, and then it's going to go back to the way it was.
It's going to be 30. It's 30 days of lying. 30 days that you lied to yourself about your goals, and 30 days that the gym lied to you about the goals that you're going to achieve by signing up with them, and 30 days of them lying to you about, this is how much it's going to cost you right now to be a member. And hey, we got all this stuff for you, and we know you're going to come here and use it every day. And it's just lies and more.
Most gyms, if they're being honest,
they don't want you there.
Well, they don't want you to use the equipment because that's wear and tear, and that's costly. Like someone like me going to the gym, they're like, oh man, this guy's fucking deadlifting heavy weights and ruining our floor, putting chalk everywhere.
Like, you don't want to get on the treadmill, guy? Come on, cardio. Because it's much easier to calibrate that stuff than try to.
The aisle gym member is the guy who signs up and never comes back.
Shows up. Yep.
Like 1,000 people on the roster who pay every month but never come in, or they come in once a year.
It's like the ideal membership, online, all these guys that, in the fitness world are coming up with these memberships, for all their products or whatever else. And, you got a monthly membership and they just hope that you never log in. Cause again, if you have a problem, you're probably going to email them like, hey man, this thing hasn't been updated in like, I don't know, 2 months. Well, you weren't supposed to notice that. Why are you logging in? You just need to pay me that $19.99 a month and keep it moving, pal. It's like,
well, the key with that is to keep the price so low that it's not worth the
exactly,
hassle to call up and cancel. So you make it $5 a month, right?
Yeah.
And then you get 10,000 people paying $5 a month.
You never
it's a really nice
anything.
income for you.
And then I check and you're like, come on. Can you just imagine our Patreon?
But the monthly price is so low that you're like, maybe I'll look at it next month.
Can you imagine
if
we did that with our show, like with our Patreon subscribers, just like, we stopped doing shows after this, and it's like a year later, like, wait a minute. I know I like, haven't heard a few episodes. I didn't have time to like log in or whatever else and listen to some episodes, but last time I checked, you guys did an episode like, what, 8 months ago? What the hell? And I've been still signing up. Hey, man, $5 a month, man. Really? Is it that serious? You can't just.
Well, what's sad is a lot of the pay-per-view sites and pay-per-view content is not as good as most of the free stuff that's out there.
Exactly.
That's the sad reality. That's why that stuff is dead in the water. It's going to go the way the music industry is going. Trying to sell information, those days are over, man. It's unless you're someone who is at the top of the game, like Charles Poliquin in our industry is the top strength coach, right? That guy can do whatever he wants. It's going to work. He wants to charge $30 a month for a content website. People are going to pay it. But the key is that he's going to deliver. That's why he can do it. That's why he's at the top.
It's going to be consistent. He's just not going to, drop off.
I mean, if you look at his website right now, Strength Sensei, it's ridiculous the amount of free information he gives away. Right. It's incredible, man. It's incredible. He should be charging for that. So for him to decide, hey, I'm going to make a pay-per-view website, which is even more detailed, I would be happy to pay that, frankly, because one, I like the guy, and two, the information's incredible. But it has to be that kind of value.
Right.
If you're not bringing ridiculous value, then forget it. People are just going to go to YouTube.
Yeah, I mean that's where they already are.
Exactly.
That's where they are anyway. Even if you do bring value, so you have to have something else. Like for me, I transitioned from being a kettlebell instructor to designing nutrition supplements, which are not, they may be free someday with 3D printers and all that, but not anytime soon.
Right. I think you're safe for a while.
Yeah. I'm safe for a long time. Man. You make really good products that work. People are going to keep buying it, and it's not something where like I read this book a long time ago called Free. Way before all this stuff started happening. And this guy predicted that, look, as technology evolves, it's going to be so cheap to distribute information that you're not going to be able to charge it for it anymore. And he, like a lot of the people who aren't Nostradamus, this guy's crystal ball was pretty accurate, because that's pretty much what's happening right now. And I read that book and I was like, you know what? I bet this guy's right. So I'm going to start thinking about that, because at that time I was knee deep into making information products, DVDs, ebooks, you name it. Right. And that stuff is, I haven't made any new stuff in a long time because I transitioned into what I'm doing now. But if I were if that world were my primary source of income, I would be in trouble.
It's just like the music industry, it's just like, exactly. And Metallica, you failed, 15 years ago when you were trying to fight it. It should have just rode the wave, man. You should have just rode the wave. You should have just been like, Pearl Jam and all those guys. Like, you know what? This is a beast that we cannot conquer. So you can't beat them, join them, but be smart about how you join them. What are you going to bring to the table? You're like, okay, we'll release our whole album for free, but here's the thing. Got a tour coming up, blah, 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 blah. And if you buy the album, you'll get a discount on your ticket to the tour. Oh, okay. Well, shit, I'll go ahead and buy it then. If I can save like 20% off these high-ass ticket master prices, I'll take that. So you got to kind of, really, instead of just bowing down or just being just so, I don't know, man, where you just don't want to give in and then you both lose out on both ends of that spectrum. You got to figure out and get a step ahead of the game with that, man. And so,
correct.
So, yeah.
I think some bands also, because they're so cool and they're so respectful to their fans, like you feel guilty if you do that. It's like you want to support them. It's like, no, I got to go buy this guy's album, man, because that guy gave me a stop and chat for 20 minutes after the show last time. I was like, I can't just go to BitTorrent and pirate this guy's album. That's just not cool. Or I'm going to go buy a T-shirt, or I'm going to make sure I go to the show every time he's in town, etc.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's like I'm a Spotify user, probably mainly just because it's the most practical for my life or whatever.
Yeah, it replaced my iPod.
Everything's there. It's all on my phone. It's streaming. I can, what I mean? Like it's just easy access. Something comes out, there it is. I can playlist stuff. It just practically speaking. However, if there's something that like, if there's someone that I really want to support and there's something that I'm fucking way down with, of course I'm going to the gig. Of course I'm buying the shirt, you know what I mean? And then maybe I'm buying like, maybe I'm buying the album, if necessary, but like, just like I said, for practicality's sake, Spotify is the way that I consume music now, just because that's what works best with my lifestyle.
Yeah. I'm the same. And in fact, if it weren't for Spotify, for some of these artists, I wouldn't even know they were on tour. I'm like, oh crap, they're going to be in Houston next week. Just because I happen to subscribe to their playlist or whatever else on Spotify. And then I go check them, and I go check them out. I'm like, well, damn, they were just as good in person as they were from the music that I was listening to and I was streaming. So, and then guess what I'm going to do after that? I'm going to share it. I'm going to let everybody know and go from there. And then hopefully somebody else, will appreciate them. And that's how it grows right there, because that's where you really get your longevity right there. When, again, raving fans, we talk about that as far as the fitness industry and just being an entrepreneur in general. That came from basically that music industry. When you're a raving fan, you want the world to, when you're a real fan, you want the world to know about them. You're not trying to hoard it and keep it all to yourself. You want them to be successple. You're like, dude, you're missing out if you're not listening to these guys. So you got to check this out. And that's the way you do it right there, man. And that's why you take care of those fans. Don't crap on them.
Well, I mean, like you said, Blasco, on Jamie's podcast, I mean, you have to have fans to be successful in advance. Same thing with trainers. You have to have fans. You can't just rely on your friends and your family to support whatever you're doing. That's not enough. and in the fitness, a lot of times, like I remember I knew a guy when I was coming up in the kettlebell world. And this guy got certified by Pavel. We all did at that time. And this guy put together his website, and his whole mission statement was, my goal is to proliferate Pavel Tsatsoulin's teachings. I'm like, okay, that's great, motherfucker. So why am I coming to you for that? I'm going to go take Pavel's course. It's like, you're just a clone of him. It's like, what do you got to say that's unique? Because I went and learned from him, and then I put my own personal touch on it. So I became, hey, I've got the aggressive strength system. You want to learn that? You come to me.
Yeah.
I'm inspired by him, but I've got my own thing. I've got my own message. That's how you sustain a career. And then you actually have to have fans for that. And you're gonna learn that real fast. If you write an article and nobody cares, okay, maybe the article sucked, all right? So then, but if you've written 100 articles and people still don't care, then you're doing something wrong. You have to figure out, why don't I have any fans?
Right. Yeah, man. Like what's going on? Yeah, you gotta really like analyze the situation, and because man, no fans, no business. I mean, that's right. No consumers, no fucking business, dude.
And you want the right kind of fans. Like, we know a lot of women in the fitness industry who just post pictures of their butt breasts on Facebook. It's like okay, you have a twat, that's great. But there's a billion other women who do. Yeah. It's like no one's gonna take you seriously as a fitness professional. It's like now you have a lot of guys who are going to try to chat you on the Facebook instant message function. These guys aren't coming to you for your content because of the way you've presented yourself. And then you have women who are very professional, who they look good, they're very attractive, but they're very professional and their content's incredible. So people may initially say, "Oh, who's this hot girl?" But then they look at the information, they're going, "Oh, wow, this is some great stuff."
I mean, look, it comes down to simply, man, like, do you want people's respect or do you just want people's attention?
Yeah, exactly. That's a great way to say it. And for some people, unfortunately, well, I mean, it's not unfortunate or fortunate. It's just the reality. They just want the attention. That's the payoff.
Yep. That's to them, that's what works, whatever. Not me, dude. I'm the dude trying to earn people's respect. And I don't go into, I'm not the attention dude in the room, like, hey, fucking look at me. Like, I'm not that guy.
You're not walking around, disappointed that people aren't running up to you for autographs, selfies and stuff like that.
Oh, no. I mean, that's great whenever people do,
Yeah, it's a nice compliment, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, but it's certainly not something I look for. Like, man, I can't believe no one recognized me in Mandalay Bay when I walked through today.
Yeah, I'm not advertising that. And hopefully the people that do come up to me to do that, they respect me for what I've done and what I've contributed, and that's why they want it. But it's not because I'm advertising that I need someone's attention,
Yeah, we've become this really narcissistic culture now where people are just desperate. Like Instagram is like, okay, so Twitter's not enough now. This is for people who just want to post pictures. It's like the next level. What's next? People are going to post like home video pornos.
That's already been done. You're about 20 years late on that one, man.
I mean, like everyday people in a mainstream media where it's like, hey, come check out my here's me having sex with my boyfriend, or here's me naked coming out of the shower.
CelebritySextape.com. It's like,
It's like, because like right now, what's considered normal, like these very provocative selfies, that would have been really risque like 20 years ago. It would have been like, whoa, what's going on here?
Now we're like, so-and-so's got a butt out again.
Yeah, exactly. So I can't
scrolling.
even imagine what's 20 years from now.
Keep scrolling. He's like, oh, now she's showing her ovaries. That's what I'm talking about. Now I can actually see it on the inside of her vagina. Come on, man. Because, that's the only way you're going to top what's going on now. You got to start showing like, hey, here's the source, people. Okay, come on.
No, but we'll end with this, Vibs. I know we've had you on for a long time, and I appreciate it, man. It's great talking to you.
No problem.
But it just the effort and the willing to put in the work, and you're finding out whether you're really serious. It reminds me of what one of our peers, Mark Philippi, does. He's the top strength coach here in Vegas, where he's a very generous guy too, and he gets young men, teenagers coming in there all the time saying, man, if I could just get trained by you, it would really help me get a scholarship. It would help me get picked up for different colleges. So what Mark will say is like, okay, look, I'll train you, but you're going to have to mop the floors before you leave, clean all the bathrooms, clean up the parking lot, help out at the gym. And like 90% of people are like, nah, I don't want to do that. And that's his way to determine who's really serious, who really wants it, who really wants the information, who really wants to get those scholarships, who wants to get trained by him, and who doesn't. Because the few people who are willing to do all that, guess what? They're worth his time in his mindset. He goes, these are guys where it's going to be gratifying for me because they're willing to put in work and they probably are going to go on. And he said that many people years later have come back and thanked him for that. They go, it really helped me build character. It really helped me appreciate everything you did for me, rather than someone just coming in and saying, hey, man, can you train me? And offering nothing in return.
Yeah, that's a question that I get. Is like, that's a pretty common interview manager question of like, what is it that you look for in an artist? And much like your guy in Vegas, my response would be the same. But I phrase it as this: like, I look for lifers, man. And like your guy does. He's looking for fucking lifers, like dudes that are so willing to commit to the project, so willing, like no backup plan, I went into music early on, but believe me, I have no backup plan. You know what I mean? I am a fucking rock and roll lifer, just out of the gate. I have no option, right? Yeah. So it's and I love seeing that attitude, just like your guy does. It's just it's man, you have to be so committed that that there can't even be there can be no backup plan. There can be no room for failure. You're just committed.
Whenever someone has a backup plan, I always say, just go do that now. I had a friend of mine who's like, yeah, I'm going to push this kettlebell thing, but if it doesn't work out by this time, I'm like, go fucking do that right now.
Yeah.
That's the wrong attitude to have. My attitude was, I'm never going to work for someone ever again, ever. And I want to be a fitness professional. I want to succeed in this. Anything else was not even I didn't even consider it as a possibility.
Your guy, that's your guy's weeding out process. And those people have to pay the dues. So they appreciate it and they don't take it for granted. It's if I'm going to give you this lifetime of work that I've built and that is of value to you, I can't just give it to you, man. You got to fucking work for it,
Right.
And it's just like that in music too, man. It's man, you got to go out there, you got to grind. Any band that I'm interested in is a band that's already been doing it. I don't care how good you think your music is or whatever. If you're not out there actively trying to find fans, if you're not out there actively doing the work that you feel like someone else should be doing for you, I'm not interested.
No, it's inspiring when you see bands that have been doing it for a long time and they still grind. Like Madball, I'm a huge fan of Madball, and I saw them in Vegas, and Freddie Madball, the singer, gets up in there, he destroys that place, and then it's 2 a.m. and backstage he's taking photos with fans, he's doing chats with everybody, he's hanging out, he's cool, and he's been doing this for over 20 years.
Yep.
And he doesn't have this attitude of, I should have all this by now. The limo should be picking me up, and I shouldn't have to do this anymore. I shouldn't have to put in this kind of effort. He doesn't even think like that. He just keeps grinding it out.
Yeah. That's it, man. And they figured it out. They figure out a way to do it, and they do it because they love doing it.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
At the end of the day, regardless of what your your chosen, your desire or passion is. It's like you have to. That has to be your attitude.
And you can always tell when someone's passionate about something or they're not, right? Like they're just going through you can always tell when someone's just going through the motions. It's like, oh, so what do you do? It's like, oh, I do this. It's like, yeah, I'm sure you're really good at it, because they just have the, they have the enthusiasm of a tadpole, man. I mean, they've got the depth of a pond. They're just not remotely excited at all.
Right. Yeah.
And that's always a side of don't do it. Like when someone wants to get in our industry, the fitness business, and they're not really passionate about fitness, like they love working out. They love reading about nutrition and training in their free time and watching videos and going to lectures without making a dime. It's like a hobby of theirs. If they don't have that kind of passion, you're not going to turn that into a business.
No, because, and then also too, like you won't, if you're not that entrenched in it, that you're not, there's no way that you're going to be able to carve out your own niche out of it. Like, I mean,
right.
you carved out your own thing, but you just didn't wake up one day and go, oh, dude, you know what? Live life aggressively. Like, it's like that came out of you being entrenched in that world. And you're like, you know what? And you go like, you know what personally resonates with me that I don't see anybody else doing, and how I can make a statement in this world that I love being in, but I feel like other people will resonate with it as well. And that's what you did, and you carved it out, but you had to be engulfed in it to even have that idea and to see it through.
Yeah. No, thank you. I appreciate that. A lot of it came from people saying, oh, you're too intense, man. Like, relax. I had this ex-girlfriend who's like, you're just too aggressive. Not like aggressive in a violent way, but just always so intense. And I was like, those aren't negative things. Well, what I need to do is get rid of you because you see it as a negative thing. Yeah. But I remember when I first came up with that live life aggressively motto, the guy who was designing my website was like, Mahler's aggressive strength, live life aggressively. I think this is going to be too intense. You're not going to get a big audience. I was like, I'm not concerned about that, man. If I can't be successful being exactly who I am and being authentic, then I'm not interested in this business. It's not for me then.
You'll get the audience that you want, though.
Exactly. I'd rather have a cult following that loves my material and I can just be myself rather than, like I got to go into character every time I do something because that's what people want. That's going to become a real drain. It's like someone being in a relationship where they have to be something they're not. Because if they're really who they are, the other person's going to, run for the hills. It's like, it's not going to sustain itself, man. That's not going to work.
Exactly.
Well, great, man. It's awesome having you on. This was a real pleasure. It was a real treat.
Yep.
And
thanks for having me.
Is there anything you have coming up? Any shows you have coming on or projects you're working on?
No, man. I mean, 2016 is going to be pretty light on the gigs, and it'll just be focusing on management because Ozzy's doing all it's like a Sabbath year.
Oh yeah, right.
So the solo stuff will take a back seat while the Sabbath thing runs its course. And then, maybe Zach and I will do some Zack Sabbath, like little stuff here and there. But for the most part, there won't be a whole lot of gigging. So, I'll just be grinding away, dude, so.
Oh, sounds great.
Yeah.
Now you have a charity you're really into. It's a cat rescue. What's the name of that charity? We can give that a plug in the notes too.
Oh yeah. Kitten Rescue LA. I mean, there's a handful of them. I've sort of inadvertently built this cat following because it's like when I first got on Instagram, I just thought it was boring to post photos of myself. I was like, who cares, what I'm doing, and so I just started posting pictures of my cats, and then that built this whole it's like COI, which is Cats of Instagram. Like I became part of this community or whatever, and then with that comes the whole rescue thing, and you get involved and whatever. So there's a lot of there's a lot of them in LA and stuff, and there's a lot of communities and rescues and stuff. So yeah, I'm still on the surface of that, but I'm in there. So yeah, Kitten Rescue LA is what I donated to for my birthday, because whenever me and my buddy we share the same birthday, and so what we did is we teamed up and we're just like, hey, look, fucking don't give us don't send us presents, don't send us gift certificates, fucking don't do jack shit. Like, don't even say happy birthday. Just, just donate to our GoFund account, and then we're gonna, put that into our respective charities.
Nice.
I think that's a good philosophy for Christmas right now. Like years ago, I decided I'm just gonna donate money to different charities that family members, loved ones, etc. are into. Like, my mom's a big elephant fan, so I donated to Elephant Sanctuary. My dad helps kids in Uganda, orphans and so forth, so I would donate to his charity. And that's just more meaningful. And then you feel like, if you feel like it's really a win-win too, you're not just furthering someone's hoarding habits.
I mean, beyond that, dude, like, what more shit do I fucking need?
Right.
You need another fucking tie, or socks.
More socks, really?
No, I don't. No, absolutely not. I do not need more fucking crap. Like, I'm trying to purge.
Exactly. I'm trying to get rid of stuff. Like, don't bring anything in my house. I'm trying to get stuff out of my house.
That's the irony of life, isn't it? It's like, when you make all this money, you buy stuff, and you're like, man, how do I get rid of all this shit?
Exactly. Somebody comes to your house, hey man, that's really cute. You like it? Take it home. You can have it.
Yeah, exactly. I do that all the time. Oh, you like that painting? Here, let me tell you.
It's yours.
Like,
really?
Take that book. Go ahead, take it. Whenever I buy something, I always think, I was like, okay, am I actually going to use this, or is it going to end up at the Goodwill or the library, or is this actually going to be something useful? 9 times out of 10, I walk out without buying anything.
My question is do I want this or do I need this? That's a very simple question. Like, do you really need this? Somebody, no, I just want it. I really want it. Then somebody's always going to tell me, well, you deserve things. You work hard. You should get the things you want. Like, okay. Somebody, don't try to validate your hoarding on me, buddy. And like, I'm trying to get rid of crap. Just take it.
Like, do you guys ever do this shit too, where you're like, there's like a bigger ticket item that you've really got like your eye on. You're like, oh fuck yeah, man! When I get this next bonus check or whatever, like it's going right there. I want that. And then you get that, right? You get the check or whatever it is that you're waiting on, and you get it, and then you go like, oh, you know what? I don't even want to drop that amount of dough.
Exactly. That's always just my wife and I first started dating. Like, when she's like, hey, I want that. I said, all right, let's do this. Wait 2 days, and if you're still thinking about it, go back and get it. After 2 days, because guess what? That's the same tactic I used with my children growing up. Whenever they were like, Daddy, I want this. We'll see. We'll see is the best answer a parent can give to a child growing up, because you didn't lie. We'll see. Yeah. And obviously, a year later, we saw that you didn't buy it and you didn't want it anymore. So, hey, there you go. I didn't finish the sentence. I just said, we'll see, which is a complete sentence. Okay. Yeah. So it just wasn't very specific. That's the thing about it. Left it open for interpretation.
I think it's better to spend money on experiences, right?
Exactly.
Go travel the world. Go on a nice vacation. Go out for a nice dinner, like experiences, creating memories, right? I think that's more meaningful, and ultimately stuff you'll look back on more fondly than just a bunch of material clutter you bought over the years.
For sure. Agreed.
Well, awesome, man. Great having you. And also, what's your Twitter handle for people to follow you?
I'm the same. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is all Blasco 1313, Blasko 1313.
Hey man, some of these pictures you have on Instagram are hilarious, especially the one that Zakk Wylde, the mini moods of Mr. Blasco that Zakk Wylde did of you with the cat heads on your body. It's freaking hilarious, man.
Yes.
Zach's a funny guy too.
Yes,
he's always talking about steroids.
Oh yeah, no,
it's like, I'm huge now since I've started taking growth hormone.
I mean, you can follow my Instagram if you want, but really you should just go Zakk Wylde BLS. You should just go follow that one, because that's highly more entertaining than mine. If you just want to look at pictures of tuxedo cats, follow mine. But if you want to have a laugh or whatever, you should follow his.
And everyone, check out that episode that Blasco did with Josta on. It's episode 137. That was a great episode. So again, man, this was a real pleasure. I've been looking forward to talking to you for a while. Thanks so much for the time.
Thanks a lot, man.
For sure, man. Appreciate it, guys. Have a good weekend and a good holiday.
All right, you too, man. You take care.
Yep.
Thank you. Take care, everyone. All right, man. That was a fun one, and this is a great way to end 2015. This is going to be our last episode for the year, because we know a bunch of you guys are out there wasting time with material bullshit, not listening to podcasts and furthering yourself. So it's a good time for us to pull back the reins.
So when you finally listen to this episode, just remember what we said about hoarding and getting rid of that stuff. So when somebody comes over your house and sees all that crap you bought for Christmas that you don't care about or that you were given, at Christmas, just like, hey, man, I like that. Hey, You like it? Take it. So yeah, that's the one takeaway you can take from this episode. Like, you don't have to hold on to that crap just because somebody bought it for you and you know you don't care about it. Hey, if somebody else likes it, give it to them.
A lot of times when I have lunch meetings with friends, I'll always grab a book off the shelf to give.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's like, oh, I bet that person would like this. Bam.
You listen to them talk like, man, I wonder how, successful people. Oh, I got this book, 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. Hey, man, here you go. Really? I can have it? Yes. And when you're done with it, donate it to someone else. Keep it moving.
Right. Pay it forward, man.
Exactly. Keep it moving, man.
Like, how many times do you need to read it? Like, you read the book 5 times. Like, oh, maybe I'll read it 6 times. Like, no, you're not. Just move it on, man. Move it on.
Give it away. Give it away, man.
I do that with kettlebells too, man. Like, my friend Dave Gunter was working out here, and I had a second pair of competition 24 kilo bells.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, these bells are pretty nice. I'm like, take them, man. He's like, really? I was like, yeah, fucking take them, man. You're supporting the podcast all the time. You're buying my products. You're a friend of mine. I was like, what am I going to do with 4 pairs of 24 kilos? I'm not teaching classes. I only need one
exactly.
set.
Exactly, man. So, yeah, speaking of supporting the podcast, you guys can support both of our businesses as well as the podcast by heading over to MikeMahler.com or NewWarriorTraining.com. Use the coupon code LLA. Get 10% off all of our products. You find something over there, man, that you can purchase, you can use that coupon code and get 10% off. It's really just that simple. So if you're going to buy stuff for the holidays for people, buy them some stuff that's actually going to do them some good. Okay, not another pair of socks. Get Mike's testosterone booster for, your uncle who's got the man boobs that he's been holding on to for the last 30 years. And, it's to the point now that anytime you put your child in their lap or whatever, they can't even see you and take a picture with the family.
Yeah, some of you guys may have a goal in 2016 to finally see your dick again.
As well as your wife. She would like to as well. So,
you look down to take a leak, you only see your feet, man.
Well,
so, maybe you have
you look down to take a leak and all you see is a puddle on the floor because you missed. You're not close enough. Move up, man. Move up. Okay. You don't be so ambitious. Okay. Move up. So, yeah, man. So that's what you can do with that. Or you can head over to patreon.com/LLA podcast. Become a monthly supporter of the show, man. And we'll keep bringing great guests like Blasco, as well as Charles Poliquin and many others, man, to this show, and who drops so much good information and gives you just a peek inside their lives. A lot of folks you've probably seen online, or you've seen them, like you've seen them on albums, like with Blasco or whatever, but you never had a chance to really get to know these people. But the thing is, when people come on our show, it's not the same crappy cookie cutter questions or whatever. We get these people to come on and let them be themselves, man. We let them just have at it, and you get to see like, wow, that's a real person. And 9 times out of 10, you probably like them even more. So that's the benefit of this show, man, because again, we don't want the manufactured, PC type person to come on this show. We want you to be you. Okay. And that's the thing about it.
Well, we're also not trying to do a show where a lot of podcasts, they're just waiting. They have a wait and see philosophy, right? And what I mean is they're just looking like, oh, who does Joe Rogan have on the show this week? Oh, let's get that guy on next week. Or who does James Altucher have on this week? They're looking at hot podcasts. Who does Tim Ferriss have on this week? Let's try to get that person.
Guest leechers is what I call those. They just want to leech off all the guests off everybody else's shows because they don't really have an interest in these folks. They just want to have an interest in downloads. And and for those of you who have podcasts and you fit that bill, you suck. So let that be the takeaway for you for 2015. So if you have any goals that you're going to work on in 2016, be original and do not continue to suck. All right.
Yeah. If you're going to do a podcast, how about getting some guests that you've never heard on any show?
Right.
Like Luke Snusky and Rohit Kalra and James Pond. These are really interesting people that a lot of podcasts are going to shy away from because they're going, oh, well, we're not going to get the numbers that we want because of this and that.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, if this person's been on 40 podcasts that week, what makes you feel like you being number 41 is going to actually help your podcast?
And then also your podcast is now just a derivative of someone else's podcast.
Right.
So all you're doing is having guests that someone else has. Like, okay, well, what does that say about your show?
Right. So there's a little takeaway for you going into the new year, how to make a better show if you have a podcast. So anyhow, folks, enough about those folks. We'll catch you guys, I guess, 2016. How about that?
See you in 2016. Boom.
Boom. Take care, everybody.